It's been a return to familiar American circuits to open Season 3, and a familiar circumstance for Andre Melchers in back-to-back weeks, both times losing connection just miles from race wins. A time change in Europe and a schedule adjustment later, can the North American Racing League GT3 field hang on for a total of 90 minutes of racing, or must more drivers go through heartbreak? Hi, welcome to PitStop TV for NARL GT3 Season 3 Round 3 at Long Beach. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with JP Costa alongside, and welcome back to the streets of SoCal, JP.
Thank you so much for having me back. And obviously, Andrew, as you mentioned, 2 weeks in a row we've had a heartbreak within laps to go. So tonight, hopefully we're thinking that the problems are going to be fixed. But obviously, we're driving probably one of the hardest circuits we're going to have on the schedule, Long Beach. We know how tricky this track can be. The bumps, you can see the concrete walls all over the track. It's going to be a massive challenge for these drivers to be able to navigate through this course. But obviously, we kind of had a warm-up in the Porsche Cup, but obviously tonight it's a whole different story.
Let's go down sim side and check out what's going on in the sim. Welcome to the iRacing.com sim in the virtual streets of Long Beach. It's exciting to have you all here. I know we had coverage from Long Beach a few weeks back for Porsche Cup racing, but it's really special to bring GT3 cars here. I feel like just something about each of the different manufacturers. Of course, they are all supercars. Each of these cars flying through the streets here, you would usually see McLarens and Mercedes and BMWs and the like of it, driving up and down streets in Long Beach, but actually having here racing like this is really, really cool. Really, really special to have this on the iRacing.com service. Let's go ahead and check out the track map, of course. As I mentioned, we got very used to this with the Porsche Cup race in the beginning of March. Now we're here the last day of March, in fact, the last few hours of March, and we're back at Long Beach on the street circuit. Bridgestone, that's technically your first corner, JP, but it's really just a bend to head you down East Shoreline Drive to turn number 1 before you head into the water fountain on Aquarium Way. It's Queens Way that brings you from turn 4 to turn 5 before you make that sharp right-hand corner onto West Shoreline Drive down towards Tecate Turn. Pine Avenue brings you through turn 7 and into turn 8. To make a right turn onto East Seaside Way. Firestone Turn awaits for you at turn number 9. It's Indy left for turn 10, then the hairpin. That's turn 11 before you head right back onto East Shoreline Drive. That's a lap around Long Beach, but what stands out to you?
Oh, I think obviously the fountain section and the water fountain, that's obviously, a pretty sight, but it can be quite difficult. Obviously, we could see a few drivers, struggling a little bit there. Obviously, turn 6, we saw, that being an important point, a deciding point over the victory in the Porsche Cup earlier on the Porsche Cup season, obviously, of NARL. But obviously, I think, Andrew, turns 10 and 11, that's going to be an interesting spot. Turn 9 as well. We saw, again, instance happening over there on the first few laps. So I feel like, that last section, turns 9, 10, and 11, they could be a deciding factor, even early on in the race.
And with 38 cars, at least in this amateur race, it's going to get cramped pretty quickly. I think turn 1, obviously, that's your first go-to area for any kind of issue. We've seen that with the Porsche Cup race back in March and the IRL race here that we had the day after. So turn 1, obviously, that's your first place that you look for a big issue. The water fountain can also be quite cramped. As you can see, the track map is very tight through there. You literally come around a water fountain, but then I think things just string out. You don't see as many issues in 4 and 5, while you still can see crashes anywhere because it is a street course. Turn 6 is your first heavy braking zone once you get going. So obviously turn 1's your first one, but your first one in the middle of the field, the middle of the track, is turn 6, Tecate Turn, and that's why you see issues there. Turn 8 narrows up on exit, that's why you see issues there, and obviously that's onto that big backstretch over down East Seaside Way, and the hairpin can obviously always stack up, albeit at slower speeds. I mentioned 38 cars, that means things are going to, get hectic, and the point standings will certainly change. Let's take a first look actually at the amateur point standings. David Hicks leads. He's got 2 wins now in the season, but that does not tell the whole story. Much like we'll see in Pro later, we've had some issues, and David Hicks did dominate Road Atlanta by all means, but last week at Sebring, JP, William Coffey, literally moments away from a win, drops out of the race, just like Andre Melchers, and David Hicks comes on through to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, that was heartbreak for Coffey, but obviously, think about it, David was there all along. He was in second place. He ended up earning the victory. Obviously, for circumstances that I guess he didn't want to win the race, but obviously he did. But you can see the rest of the championship. T. Gashburn, Diego Ari, and Rob Rodriguez 13 points separate the top 4, and obviously 16 if you count Brent Kinkot. So he's extremely close, and one mistake, Andrew, and we might see those mistakes here, could really shake up this table. We could see, you know, drivers switching up. David Hicks could be even outside the top 20 in an odd scenario today. So still a lot to play for. Obviously early on David's looking dominant, but still a lot of racing to go before, you know, we have a clear idea of who's the favorite.
Let's take a look now to the Pro and Pro-Am standing, as you can see the effects of both of Andre Melcher's big issues at Road Atlanta and last week at Sebring. Nicholas Rubelar threw to 2 big wins to set the stage for this season. And Nathan Lewis, second place, I think in both of them, or second in Road Atlanta, maybe third last week at Sebring. Either way, he has been fantastic as well, just right on the coattails of Andre Melcher's and Nicholas Rubelar the first 2 weeks. Gustavo Ariel, also very good, along with Martin Crisp and Dominic Olivier and even Hunter McDaniel. I think the top 5, and let's include that tie with 5th and 6th of Dominic and Hunter, that's been your core set of drivers, minus Andre Melcher's, of course. Those guys seem to have things figured out. Then you can throw in guys like Juan Blanat, and you know what, you might even throw Juan into that grouping. Federico Godai and Fabio Zamperlini and Matthew Dench, as fast as they've been up and down these last couple of weeks. I believe with one not so great finish and one good finish, that's why they're in this top 10. And when you go over to Pro-Am, it's a completely different story. I think you've got a large set of drivers that could win on any given week. It's just been a couple that have so far. You saw Bryce Rodriguez really strong at Road Atlanta. Pretty middle of the road last week at Sebring, though.
Absolutely, and that obviously reflects on his championship standing, currently 13 points behind the guy who won last week, Paulo Godoy. So it's really up and down. John Sedlak doing an excellent work as well. Scott Kimbrough, you know, being only 10 points behind him, and obviously Rodrigo Lapri only 3 points, well, tied up with Bryce Rodriguez, actually a guy who has won. So consistency, Andrew, is what dominates the NARL championship. So these drivers need to make sure they always finish, you know, inside the top 10, inside the top 5. Always aim for that. Even if you cannot win, you might still have a chance at that the championship at the end of the season.
And Godai comes into tonight on a really strong set of weeks, at least a few weeks prior, really strong set of races. He's got that win from Sebring last week. I believe he was in the mix, didn't quite win an amateur at Charlotte earlier on Tuesday with the Porsche Cup guys. He's just been really strong as of late. We've been saying his name a lot in Pro-Am, and I think he's got some really big days ahead of him, and he's already had some really big days to begin with. And John Sedlak is going to have an interesting day today, coming into tonight second, just 1 point ahead of Scott Kimbrough. But the big thing for John is he already voiced his displeasure over Charlotte, didn't quite like that. He's doing the same thing here for Long Beach, so it's a rough week of racing for him. Hopefully he can get through it today in the GT3 cars, and we'll see how things go for him. The full schedule here for the GT3 guys, though, this is how it looks. Road Atlanta opened things up on March 17th on St. Patrick's Day. It was Sebring last week, Long Beach this evening, Red Bull Ring next week.
That's going to be also lots of fun. Red Bull, obviously, we're coming back, I guess you can say, Andrew, to, well, we can actually say that, to a Formula 1 circuit, you know, with a wide circuit with kind of a big runoff area. So it's going to give these guys a little bit of breathing room after coming from Road Atlanta and Long Beach. Then obviously Zolder, that's going to be a fantastic race. And then we're back into the Roval. Drivers who enjoyed the Roval on the Porsche Cup, or if they actually obviously love Charlotte and the Roval, they're going to absolutely love it. VIR, I guarantee you that pretty much 90% of the drivers have to love it, because that's just amazing. And obviously we're capping off the season in the greatest racing course in the world, Interlagos. You know, it's just going to be a fantastic season-ending race, and, well, I'm pretty sure all drivers are looking forward to that as well.
You know how I mentioned 38 cars a little while ago? We're up to 40 now, an even 4-0, as Adolfo Perez and Marco Garcia have now connected to the session and are ready to go racing. I'm looking forward mostly, I think, to Zolder, Charlotte, and VIR. Really, the whole back end of the schedule excites me personally. I'm a big fan of Zolder. I love racing on it. I love the couple times that we've covered it previously. I absolutely love Charlotte. Don't have to go on about that one. You heard that one Tuesday. VIR, it's very close to where I live now. I've been there a few times and I've fallen in love with that circuit, both in real life and on the service. And Interlagos is just a good racing course. I think the first time I really, you know, came to meet Interlagos and love Interlagos was actually late 2018, or I want to say one of, if not the, it wasn't the season championship for F1, but it was one of the later races in the schedule. Anyways, that just made me, I think, understand Interlagos a whole lot more, and ever since I've had certainly a respect for that racing course. You just saw practice end, and we're taking it to qualifying now with 40 cars Oh boy, 40 cars ready for Long Beach, and this is just the amateur race. We could see more, we could see less in the Pro-Am race, and who knows what we're going to see on the racetrack here in a moment. Let's go down trackside for the first time, though, and check out Clarence Rosa getting onto the racetrack in a McLaren. I don't think we've seen that Ford before, but ready to go after it in car 71.
That's definitely going to be an interesting choice. We all know how tricky the McLaren is, and obviously the tendency sometimes...
There's a lot of them here today, though.
Oh, so there you go. So the McLaren might be the dominant car today, which is really interesting to see as well. You can see Sonny Brown in his Porsche as well, a really good car. You can see a BMW of Brendan Love here as well. So we have pretty much all the cars around here, all the manufacturers I think are present on tonight's race. You can see an Audi from Scott Angelo. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, Andrew, because obviously the Audi, Lamborghini, they're pretty much the same car. The BMW, it's the complete opposite. It's a front-wheel drive version, as Dominic Angelicchio. He's rocking a amazing looking livery as well.
It's the same livery he's had on other cars, but it's on the McLaren now, and I think he most recently ran it on a BMW, which actually looks strikingly like an Alfa Romeo Giulia somehow, but this just looks really, really good. I like this, Dominic. I like that a lot. Let's check out Diego Eda. He's back at an Audi. We're used to that. And Chris Winstone in a Ferrari. The first Ferrari that we've seen so far going through this field. Alan Dobbs in a Porsche still for Thin Line Racing. John Kroon in a Porsche. Eric Staropoli in an Audi R8 out of New York. How about Cody Hatch? That's our first Mercedes of the day. There's a few of those out here. I think Teague Ashburn's still behind the wheel of Mercedes. There's Chip Witt in a Porsche. Joshua Tucker in a Porsche. I think we're starting to see a theme of Porsches and McLarens. Here's Teague Ashburn in that Mercedes that I mentioned. Milan Harris is in a Porsche. Will Coffey has opted for a Porsche this week as well. James Calborn, a new driver to me at least. I don't think he's been on the list before. James Calborn in car 73 in a Ferrari out of California. Seems like he's a home driver. Philip Bedurka, he's in a BMW. You've got Leon Clover in a Porsche. Brian Long even in a Porsche. How about that? Dan Willis is out there in an Audi from Aradnis. Rob Rodriguez in a BMW. Just flipping through more of the field. Zachariah Rosar, he's in a BMW. Ilya Speaker is in a Porsche. Pablo Ferretti is still in his McLaren, and Brent Kincott is in an Audi.
So pretty much all, I'm pretty sure all the manufacturers are present. Andrew, you can correct me on that one, but it's really good to see this.
Aside from the Ford, certainly. I know we've seen a BMW, we've seen a Ferrari, a McLaren, an Audi, a Ford,
oh, Lamborghini,
a Porsche. There is a Lamborghini in the field. We're still to find it. I did see one earlier. There it is. David Stevenson. They're in car 13.
So there you go. All manufacturers. It's going to be interesting. Oh, there you go. So 2 straight in a row. Really good to see all manufacturers present. You can see timings are already flying. William Coffey currently sits on provisional pole position. Only 14 thousandths between him and Diego Eric. Armando Bejarran in Mercedes. In the top 3, Andrew, separated by less than 1/10, which is really good to see. The top 10 still within the same second, which is really, really close. Even, I guess, yes, even to 14th place is still in the same second. So a really tight grid. William Coffey, though, he's currently leading it.
Let's go on board with somebody around the course. Let's go ahead and take, you know what, Brandon Love here. I know he's got a big fan club. Let's go ahead and go on board with a BMW around the big streets of Long Beach. I should say a big BMW around the tight streets of Long Beach here. Car 88 getting up to speed and qualifying.
So you can see just coming up to the final sector of the race, which I think could be deciding. He misses a little bit of the apex. 9. And that is exactly why he can be dangerous, Andrew. Just a small mistake like that. Mike Braun, though, you can see how close, how much he rolled those curbs, and now just a quick left, and then a braking zone to the right. A lot of different lines to be taken through the hairpin, and then just flat out to the line, just as quickly as you can. Nail those shifts. Take the smallest approach possible. Scott Angelo leading now by 18 thousandths over Diego Ari. Mike Braun, what can he do? Well, that's inside the top 10, 10th place for him.
Pretty solid lap there from Mike Braun. Here's Scott Angelo working through the fountain. Now let's go on board with him aboard the Audi and see what he can do. Well, I say see what he can do. He's already on pole. Did just crunch the wall there, though, so he might not go any faster this lap. Leon Clover, car 76. That is a Porsche. So I think the first time we've been on board with a Porsche today. A good look at it here headed to turn 1.
Just finished the lap, went 4th place, so a really good qualifying session for him as well. See how close you need to get the walls. I absolutely love this, the perfection, you know how pinpoint perfect you need to be and accurate, and how much speed you need to take. Back on board with Sonny Brown, just finishing up his lap. Currently he sits in 9th place. Let's see if he can improve his lap.
Sonny working through turn 10. We'll go to turn 11 in a BMW, or sorry, in a Porsche rather. I think I'm used to him being in a BMW. And oh, he's going to crunch the wall there. Let's find another car then. Zachariah Rosar in one of those big BMWs. I'm surprised as many drivers are running the BMW as we've got so far. We saw Lovier, we saw Rosar. I'm very surprised by that. How about Eric Staropoli? I know we saw him a little bit ago. He is in an Audi. Oh, turn 5, that's the wall. I need to stop taking onboard. It's just ruining these guys' days.
Well, our commentator's curse, I've been talking that about the whole week, but it's been on point, Andrew. Wow. I mean, each and every single time as Joshua Benjamin, it looks like he's going to start up his final qualifying lap. And Andrew, I think one of the reasons, oh, just as I said that, he finishes. So there you go. That's his qualifying attempt. Brandon Lovier back on board with him. But I think one of the arguments you can say to take the BMW, it might not be the one of the most nimble cars, I guess you can say, but just being safe. I feel like that could be a very important factor. You could take a penalty of, I don't know, 1.5, 0.2 of a second per lap. But, as long as you finish the race, you could really offset that by just positions, by just finishing the race.
Absolutely right. 100% agree with that. Pablo Ferretti goes up to 17th now in qualifying. We're on board with Adolfo Perez. We did wrap up a lap time. It's a 1:19.492, and that is good enough for 23rd. Two more cars that are on the racetrack but have not completed a lap. Billy Barrowman and Brandon Lovier, and I think Barrowman's on his out lap. Lovier, was already on a lap, but he's had a few incidents so far. That car doesn't look too beat up, so he must have towed back to the pit lane and gotten a new one. He is on lap number 3. If he does not set a time on this lap, he doesn't get one at all.
Yeah, so it's really on point for him. He really needs to finish this and start a new one and make sure he doesn't invalidate that one. So you can see, is he gonna line up for another one? That's not the greatest lineup you could have gotten, but as long as he got a better exit, a good exit, he should be up a little bit. You can see this time it's gonna be in the 1:19.4, which is gonna put him 23rd position, still within a second. Andrew, that's insane. But looks like he's going to be starting his final qualifying attempt, as Den Willis looks like he unfortunately missed turn 1.
Mike Braun, Will Coffey still on the speedway. In fact, Will Coffey might have just practiced a pit stop, which is pretty good to do. We saw that at Charlotte a couple of times on Tuesday. You definitely want to get those pit stop practices in. Here's Mike Braun. We've been on board with him before. I'm quite surprised he's going for the McLaren here. I don't know. I would have seen him going for maybe an Audi today. Like an Audi might have been what I would have pictured Mike Braun going with, but maybe even a Ferrari. But he is in the Audi, and Adolfo Perez up to 10th in qualifying. Really quick there for car 92.
Yeah, really quick. Half a second off pole position, of provisional pole for the time being. So a good qualifying session for him. We're just gonna have to keep an eye on his race pace. Yeah, the livery looks really good. I love seeing different takes on liveries, Andrew, from the same car. I just find that so interesting. As you're now taking a look at one of the Lamborghinis. This is Garcia, looks like Marco Garcia, trying either to finish his lap or open a new one. And, well, the car number 39 looks like he's finishing up his lap, currently 38th position. We're just going to have to see what time does he set and where does that put him on the board.
You can see that big virtual mirror, I say virtual mirror, that camera mirror right in the center of the line of sight there. Garcia goes a bit quicker, but might have had an off track, or might have hit the wall. Not an off track here, certainly, but might have had a wall contact, and that does not go any faster, unfortunately, for him. Billy Barrowman did go on the board, though. 36th now with a 1:20.264. Not so bad there for the Audi. Just to get around here, I think anything faster than like a 1:24 has got to feel pretty good for these guys, and they're doing exactly that. Let's see, Dominic Angelicchio coming into the pit lane. Kenneth Michael still on the track. And Michael actually is... No, he's already run all of his laps, so that maybe he was going to go a little bit quicker there, but not quite. Brandon Lovier, I see your fan club is checking in this evening. Here's a look at car 88.
So you can see the BMW just making his way through the back straightaway into the final sector of the racetrack, coming up to turns number 9. Can he nail it? Yes, he can. This time making it much better. I think he already ran his laps as well, Andrew. Yeah. And just getting a little bit extra practice, who, you know, we love. It's extra practice is never going to hurt anybody. It's definitely going to help his confidence. It could give him a little bit of an edge. And, well, it's obviously good practice as well, you know, to just run a few extra laps on an empty fuel tank to see how the car will behave at the end of the race.
A shout out to Billy Barrowman, who just picked up a couple of extra spots, up to 27th in qualifying, so he picked up a little bit of time there as we get ready for race number 1 on the evening. Of course, our Pro-Am race, that's in a little while, but we've got 40 minutes of amateur racing up first. On pole, Diego Eda there with car 77. He's been so good as of late. Excited to see what he can do here today. Starting second, you'll find Scott Angelo in car 268. Starting third, you'll find Rob Rodriguez. Leon Clover starts from fourth. William Coffey, who should have had a win last week, starts fifth place. John Kroom there in sixth. Your back four in your top 10, it's going to be Teague Ashburn, Ilya Speaker, Sonny Brown, and Adolfo Perez.
11th place goes the way of Brent Kincott in the 177, the 105 of Armando Bejaron in 12th place. 13th place on the inside line, Zachariah Rosa, 199, the number 71 of Clarence Rosa in 14th place on his outside. 15th place will go the ways of Cody Hatch in the number 27, and Dan Williams in 16th place, the number 127. 17th place will go the way of Mike Braun on the inside. Outside will go the ways of Pablo Ferretti in 18th place. Row number 10, Andrew, on the inside line, we're going to have Eric Starapoli in the 993 and the number 12 of Brian Long on his outside.
Starting 21st, it's car 37, Chris Winstone with David Stevenson alongside in one of the few Lamborghinis this evening. Milan Harris grids up in the 23rd spot. It's Brandon Lovier rolling off from the 24th position. Starting 25th, you'll find Joshua Tucker in car 112, Joshua Benjamin alongside there in row 13, and back to row 14, you'll find Billy Barriman, who I shouted up at the back end of qualifying, alongside car 110, Jeff Castillo. Starting from the 29th position, it's Tyree Phillips in an Audi with Austin Hodel, a brand new driver to the field, in a Ferrari in 30th.
31st place will go the ways of Philip Batterka in the number 70, the number 128 of Dominic Angelico in 32nd place. 33rd place on the inside will go the ways of Kenneth Michael in the number 17, and the 171 of Chip Witt in 34th place. 35th will go the way of Sean Patterson in the 54, the number 22 of Alan Dobbs on his outside. 37th place go the way of James Colborn in the number 73, and the number 39 of Marco Garcia in 38th place. And finally, row number 20, Andrew Sahab Padihar in the number 72, and the number 67 of Chad Nobles on his outside.
It is a full field of 40 cars ready to go at it for our first race on the evening. So glad you're joining us this evening. A big shout out to all of our partners, of course, with the North American Racing League, Race Lab, Maradness, Tam Livery, and JS Consulting. We are getting ready to go racing, and already the flagman with the green flag in his hands. Off and away we go at Long Beach. To the fountain for the first time, the field works on through a couple of contacts, but it looks like everybody keeps rolling, and the nice thing about these rolling starts in this series, JP, is the entire field is pretty much single file already, and it's only lap one.
Yeah, absolutely. The rolling starts allow these, the drivers just to essentially safely a single file instead of essentially everybody bunching up, and this gives them a good breathing room, at least on lap number one, to get them bearings, to get them accustomed to the high fuel car. And obviously it gives us a chance to not take a look at a lot of replays of instances, as we already have a few cars scraping the barriers.
Perez.
So yeah, Perez really tackling really close with 3-4 cars, but looks like everybody, Andrew, so far made it through in one piece.
Down to turn 9, you can see everybody wrapping around the rumble strips there on the right, or on the driver's right, our left, and already through the hairpin it looks like, and lap number 1 is just about wrapped up. Here comes Diego. Yes, lap 1 complete here in the amateur race at Long Beach. Diego leads, then it's Scott Angelo from Radness in second, Rob Rodriguez Jr. in third.
Already a good gap between first and second, but second and third as well, separated by 1 second, as we still have cars crossing the start-finish line. That's the beauty of that's the beauty of having 40 cars on a road course, and looks like the final few cars are approaching. And Andrew, after nearly a minute, well, there they go.
And one more across the line. There we go, Marco Garcia. So Diego Eda leading way up the road. He's already into turn number 6 now. And already a lot of these battles split up, but rather pleasantly. It's good to see the field kind of string out for a little bit. We got 40 minutes of racing. You don't want to do anything too quickly. I say that, oh my goodness, Scott Angelo pounds the wall in turn 8.
Oh, that's going to hurt him. That's definitely going to hurt his car as well. I wonder if he has any suspension damage.
I would definitely assume so.
Yeah, and you can see even more battles for third place. Looks like Rodriguez, look at that 3-car battle. So Rodriguez, Coffee, and Clover all fighting, and Clover going a little bit, well, compromised line is going to allow T. Ashburn to close up a little bit. So, Andrew, just after you mentioned, you know, everybody's kind of spread out, well, the top 5 are all close together again.
Run back to the start-finish line to complete lap number 2. I just love watching cars come by in a line like this at Long Beach. This is just so cool. Now to turn one more time. This is back towards the front. Will Coffey chasing Rob Rodriguez Jr., who's in the top 3 still. Leon Clover there in 5th. Teague Ashburn 6th. And they're still amazingly chasing Scott Angelo. I thought Scott would have been done for with all of that damage from pounding the wall last lap, but it looks like he's doing okay.
Yeah, he's doing okay. He even pulled up a 7/10 of a second gap between him and Rodriguez. Obviously, that's being
He's lost 3 seconds to Diego.
Yeah, that gap between first obviously increased, but obviously, you know, Rodriguez and Coffey battling, that's going to allow Angelo to get a little bit of their breathing room to try and get himself back together. But obviously, that's going to hurt. You know, at one point, that BMW and that Porsche behind him might start catching up, might start helping each other. But only time will tell us we have even further battles. Look at this line of Porsches, Andrew. We left a Porsche Cup on Tuesday. It looks like we have a second one.
Yeah, Adolfo Perez following Ilya Speaker and Sonny Brown and a couple of Porsches looking to turn 9. Sonny takes a wide line. Thought maybe there would be a lunge from Adolfo now. Adolfo trying the outside of turn 9. Turn 10. And down to the hairpin, no dice there for Adolfo Perez, so he's got to sit in behind now. And, whoa, we're behind these guys. A couple of guys doing door banging back here. We've got Armando Bejeron and Brent Kincott in a very spirited battle. A little bit of contact that time through, and it shows on their cars. A bit of contact, bit of damage there in Brent's machine.
This big battle for 11th place. You can see those drivers, one not allowing the other, one not yielding the position, I'd say, and the other not being too aggressive, as the Mercedes gets a little bit squirrely mid-corner, losing the back end, but luckily he was able to catch it. That's definitely not going to help his lap time, and it's going to allow the whole pack behind him to catch up. So you can see, Andrew, once again, just how one small mistake has a big cascade effect. All the drivers behind him close, none of them closing too much to essentially try for a move, but still close enough to apply pressure.
Let's drop way back in this field. Milan Harris in 21st, working on Chris Winstone. This would be for 20th spot. Car 37 takes that corner, and Milan backed himself into a really weird situation there. Now Brandon Lovier maybe going to take a shot. Yes, he will, down to turn 8, and thinks better of it eventually, but definitely took a look-see there on the inside of turn number 8 to the inside of Milan Harris. So these guys battling in the mid-20s or so. A little further back, there's still battles even in the deep 30s. Alan Dobbs and Kenneth Michael, their nose to tail, albeit a little more spread apart. And Marco Garcia is not too far back of these guys at all. Clarence Rosa and Tyree Phillips both one lap down, but circuiting the field. Or circuiting the track.
Yeah, it's still back on the track, so good for both of them. Obviously good for us as well to have all 4
cars. Brandon Lovier in trouble.
Oh, no.
That's out of the hairpin.
I saw his BMW had a little bit of, I think it was right front damage just on the fenders, but looks like right now it's going to be whole damage as he's having to reverse. Looks like to the pit lane. No, he's going to pass the pit lane. He's just going to be reversing, trying to do a 3-point turn.
His opportunity would have been to back into the pit lane and then get going. I'm kind of puzzled by this, admittedly. Can't go too far backwards. You will have a problem. You'll get disqualified. Go ahead and watch this. Let's see him get around first. I want to see him, make sure he gets turned around before we take a replay here. I think one more might do it right here. Let's see if we can get going.
There you go.
Go, 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 go. You got it. You got it. Oh. At this point, just go. It sacrifice a little bit of damage to the left front. Just go. And now he finally does get going. Lovier in big trouble.
A good trick I used to use when I spun around was just engage the pit limiter that often turns off the traction control of the car. You can just flick it up, but unfortunately for him, looks like it was not under his, knowledge, but let's take a look at exactly what happened. Obviously, it was on the exit of the hairpin. You can see how close he got to the Porsche head going to the outside, and just running too close. And unfortunately for him, that's not a big hit, so it's not too much damage, actually.
It was David Stevenson who made a little bit of contact with him. Lovier shouldn't have any remaining damage out of that, but definitely the race has been hurt pretty bad. He is all the way in 37th position, 23 seconds behind the next car, and that's Sahaj Patihar in 36th. Here's a look at it from Stevenson's perspective. And I think Lovier could have gone further out to the wall. I think, admittedly, if you're going to be side by side there, Stevenson did about all he could do.
Yeah, absolutely. Stevenson, at that point, he was on the apex and he got a good run. So I don't think there was any reason for him to back off. And unfortunately, as you mentioned, the BMW just came a bit too much to the right. Obviously, there wasn't too much space, but it just happened. Cutting back to live racing, you see just the gap, Andrew, that Diego Area has over Angelo. I'm inclined to say that Diego is kind of controlling the pace by now. He's not pushing too much. I don't think he even has to. 3 seconds is a good enough, a healthy gap for him to maintain and try to maintain throughout the race. And Angelo has built himself as well a good gap behind to Rodriguez of nearly 2 seconds.
Yeah, so already the top runners starting to space themselves out. Rob Rodriguez Jr. has a little bit of space even back to William Coffey. So these guys are just starting to slowly space out up front while the rest of these guys do battle behind them. And even in the midfield, you're seeing little gaps pop up in the ticker. You can see where the intervals have larger gaps between them. So a lot of the field, I think, just starting to spread out into their own kind of battles. Joshua Benjamin, though, in trouble. He's already down the pit lane. This is very early.
Yeah, this is very early to come down in the pit lane, but I guess you can see the reason why, Andrew.
Very early, but potentially doable. Comes in for damage repairs, it looks like, but he'll take fuel in hopes that he can go from here to the end.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be hoping that's going to be his lifeline if he can stretch this 8.3 seconds of fuel that he put in the car to make sure he goes the remainder 31 minutes of the race. If not, that's going to be really, really costly for him.
Let's go back and watch his lap and see where he got all of this damage. Let's go on board of car 78. This is into the fountain. And this is trailing a Porsche. I'm not entirely certain of who that is. I'm trying to see the car ahead to get a reference. It might be Milan Harris ahead, so maybe this is Joshua Tucker right in front of him. Guess we can find out by doing this. And hey, look at me. I'm proud of that one. But clear through turn 5. This is down to turn 6, down East Seaside Way. Or no, this is down West Shoreline, actually. Onto Pine Avenue, no issue yet. And you can see he's got none of that nose damage that we see him with later on, so maybe an issue here in turn 8 for Joshua Benjamin. Oh, yes, there it is. Look, the apex wall, and he got hit from behind as well. That car behind, that's one of the Wahuka cars. That's a lot of damage from them.
Yeah, a lot of damage. That will explains Jeff Castillo. Unfortunately for him, nothing, absolutely nothing he could have done. And
that poor car is destroyed.
Yeah, that car is completely destroyed. It looks like he even got a small hit from behind as well. So a small cascade effect. You can see that bumper kind of hanging off. So unfortunately for both of them, yeah, just really, I don't think Jeff came to the pits though. I think he's still out on the racetrack.
Correct.
So yeah, so he deciding to continue with that damage as we have. Looks like he is Speaker really chasing down Kroom. Yeah, teammates, same liveries. This is gonna get interesting. I don't think they're gonna battle too hard. I think at one point, if Kroom realizes Speaker has a little bit more pace, might let him through. I'm not quite sure though, but yeah, I always love a teammate battle. Andrew is very interesting, so I want to see how this one will develop.
Check out this view. You can see out the windshield of Ilya Speaker chasing John Kroom at Rockefeller Racing, and you can also see the mirror there on the dash. You can see just how close Sonny Brown got through those corners. This is a really cool camera shot just to see everything going on board the car. You can see what's going on, what Ilya Speaker is doing, the steering input, all of that, and you can also see in that mirror, like I said, to see just how close Sonny Brown got through turn 9 of the hairpin. That's really, really cool. That's what I love about these sports cars, especially this Porsche and other cars like it that have that mirror there on the dash. You can see what's going on ahead and behind, and they're so close as well. They're right in your focal point. Very cool.
Absolutely, it's really fun to see, and obviously the driver has to focus on both of them, and he needs to focus on the driver ahead to make sure, well, not only is hitting his marks and obviously not hitting the walls and avoiding the driver ahead if, the driver makes a small mistake, but obviously looking in the mirrors at all time to make sure the driver behind isn't making a mistake, going down the inside like this, or, just missing its braking zone. So a lot of things that driver needs to focus. It looks like Sonny Brown really hurt himself by going defensive down into turn 8 and down into turn 9. Looks like Paris might have something to say. And they're going to go side by side. Brown is going to get really close to the wall, but looks like Perez just clears him.
So Sonny gives that spot up to Adolfo Perez. Adolfo, for a late entry, looking pretty good today. Up to 9th spot. Qualified pretty nicely at home. Milan Harris slow in turn 9. Gets it back under control, but I saw a red big time there. And there's a big gap behind him of almost 3 seconds back to David Stevenson. The field's starting to split up.
starting to spill it up. I would like to say, Andrew, they're starting to calm down, but I'm pretty sure none of these battles are going to be calming down. They're going to the limit. You can see Brown looks like he's not willing to give up that position, and Speaker is still chasing down Chrome ahead. So we have a battle for 9th, we have a battle for 7th, and we even have this battle coming down into turn number 1. The Ferrari driver gets the position clearly, well, cleanly, I should say, and well, that was a really good move. The Audi as well, giving a lot of room, and yeah, well, this is just gonna keep on going.
This is Chris Winstone that we're on board with, looking back at Eric Staropoli, who just lost that position. That was for 19th spot on the racetrack. Joshua Tucker just behind. A good line of cars here as they work into turn number 6 now.
Is now headed down into turn number 8. Hello! Looks like the Audi driver really clipped the wall, and that's going to be him coming down the pit lane. Already you can see him going slowly. Saw a small mistake right there caught on camera. Unfortunately for him, that might not going to be his end at the end of his race, English, but it's definitely going to cost him at least 3 positions. So yeah, Andrew, that's how quickly your race can change at Long Beach.
Apologies for that sneeze there. Allergies here in North Carolina, they get to you in the middle of March and into April. Eric Staropoli going to come into the pit lane. Big problems there. And Pablo Ferretti is already on the pit lane. That McLaren, though, looks okay. Oh, a little bit of left front damage, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think the McLaren is 100% healthy. Oh, just misjudging it. You can see just the quick repair, the difference that visually it made. Obviously now going to top up on fuel as well. Oh, looks like the Audi is done for the day. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's going
calling it quits.
Yeah, that's going to be his race over. But now we're going to take a look at exactly what happened to the McLaren. No, we're going to take a look at exactly what happened to the Audi. So watch him for around turn 8. You can see he's just going to miss the apex, I think, and he's just going to run too wide.
This will be a good look at it here. Staropoli into turn number 8 out of New York. Same thing as we saw earlier, isn't it?
Yeah. Clips the inside wall, and at that point, you know, you're just going to be shot up to the outside concrete barrier. You can see that car crabbing really badly. And Pablo Ferretti, let's take a look at exactly what happened to him.
He already has that left front damage.
Yeah, already.
He might have had the same issue in turn 8. Well, maybe not the same because he doesn't have that right front damage, but it seems like turn 8 is going to be the problem spot for these guys. It seems like they're having troubles turning the front of the car. And there's a term in racing. There's a couple of terms in racing, obviously. There's quite a few, but there's loose and tight. There's understeer and oversteer. And what you're going to see here for Ferretti, I'm assuming in turn 8, is going to be understeer where, yeah, he gets in a little too deep, carries a little too much speed through the corner, and he's not shifting a bunch of weight on the car, but since it's sitting relatively static and he's carrying so much speed into the corner, he doesn't have enough, well, he doesn't have enough grip. It's that he's going too fast, and the downforce, there's not enough downforce to actually turn that car at that speed. So he's got to slow down to meet the mix, meet the balance of mechanical grip and, I don't know. What I'm trying to explain here is understeer, oversteer. Understeer is when the nose of the car does not go where you want it to go. Oversteer is when the rear of the car decides to turn a little more than the front of the car. In this case, because there's not enough front downforce on this car, because there's not enough mechanical grip, whatever, he's not able to take that corner at that speed. Obviously, hits the wall. So it's just a matter of knowing your limits, honestly, in these GT3 cars at a place like Long Beach and backing it down a little bit. Here we go. Joshua Tucker out of the pit lane here. And Joshua just pitted. It was a 15-second stop. Gets back on the course now in position number 34. And we've seen a few pit stops actually recently, JP. Brent Kingcott just came on through.
Yeah, so a few pit stops, driver electing to take fuel early, which is really interesting, Andrew. I think the strategy might not be running the car dry, but just getting a little bit of clear air. It's easier to make mistakes when you're just stuck behind someone. Obviously, we saw a bunch of drivers just like this having a bit of damage. I'm not quite sure if this Audi got a little bit of damage by himself, if Willie's got a little bit of damage by himself, and that's the cause of him coming down the pit lane. But as soon as you're behind someone really close, it's easier for you to misjudge your corner, misjudge your speed, and essentially end your race. So some drivers might be like, you know, just have a heavier car now, but being in clear air and able to run the race, which is definitely a valid and an excellent strategy as well.
And in the case of these rear or mid-engine cars, nose weight is good. If we're seeing issues with cars actually having front grip and turning around turn 8, for example, the nose weight in these Audis and McLarens and Porsches, that's only going to benefit them. That's only going to help them turn a little bit more. So if they're battling understeer, they certainly want that nose weight. They want to be able to turn the car, especially when they hit the brakes, get that turn in and try and hold that throughout the corner. As we pass a spun Sahaj Padar there out of turn number 1. But again, the rear engine car is going to want that nose weight. The front engine cars might not, because if they loosen up the rear end, it might actually dance around a little bit, as Sahaj has more troubles here trying to get this McLaren around the course.
And unfortunately for him, you can see that McLaren being really damaged, so I expect him to come down in the pit lane. As you can see, the 199 BMW of Zachariah Rose are coming to the pit lane as well, so the pit window, Andrew, is definitely open. It's just a matter of...
And we are at halfway, so this is perfectly, where you want to pit.
So yeah, we're just gonna, see variations of laps. We're probably gonna take a little bit longer to see the top 10, the top 5 coming down in the pit lane, but it's definitely only a matter of time. As you can see, that McLaren is still out on the racetrack, trying to find his way back to the pit lane. And yeah, Long Beach, it's taking its toll, and those are the leaders actually coming past it. So it's just the nature of Long Beach, unfortunately, Andrew. We're gonna have drivers making mistakes, and those concrete barriers, well, they're not gonna take any prisoners.
You know what I will say though, JP? This is the calmest I could have expected this race to go. This has been very, very... You know what? Hang on. Let me make sure I can knock on wood here. This has been very, 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 very calm so far. In a 40-car race at Long Beach with such an even GT3 field as we've got, this has been very calm, very orderly. We've really just seen small 1, 2, 3 car incidents, nothing too crazy. I'm really impressed with this entire amateur field. The amateur field is having a clean race at Long Beach. That should set up for a nice run here in a little while with the pros and pro-ams, but that also could mean that those guys, that have a lot of speed and they certainly want to go win some races, they might get a little more handsy.
Absolutely. Having a calm AM field definitely doesn't translate to having a calm pro-am or pro field. Could essentially mean the opposite, as Chris Winstone looks like he makes his way through the pit lane. But yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how the second race will develop. Obviously, I kind of want to see more of the same, to be honest. I wouldn't lie. Having a calmer race, drivers taking their time. But I don't think that will happen. Chris Winstone looks like he takes an 11.5. No, that's a 14 seconds. 13.8 second stop. So quite a longer stop than the rest of the field we've seen so far. Taking definitely more fuel.
Winstone gets back out onto the racetrack. And if we look into the top 10, there are not many battles, but one that is starting to shape up is Teague Ashburn chasing down, or at least tried to chase down, Leon Clover. This is for the 5th position, and Teague has been in 6th, I think, the entire race just about. Moved up from 7th into 6th and has been stagnant there ever since. Just trying to chase down Leon Clover for that 5th spot. It seems like he's hanging tough at about a half second back, but can't really advance any further than that.
Yeah, looks like just biding his time right now, just taking a little bit. Maybe distance as well, Andrew. It means less than a second obviously is really good. You're going to be benefiting from the slipstream. You can save a little bit of fuel, but also allows you, this great visibility of the racetrack. So Teague looks like he has the pace a little bit. It's just a matter of knowing how to use it, when to attack, and, well, it could be after the pit stops.
And this is a fun onboard, I think, to watch onboard the Mercedes. This is actually quite enjoyable to me. It makes a great sound, certainly, so that's a big part of it. But seeing this big beast work around here is pretty fun. And we've got a problem in the pit lane. James Colborn comes in and I think has had a collision potentially with Sean Patterson. I didn't think we'd see that in pit lane, but we've had some kind of issue. I know they were both in the negative in speed, so maybe they both just overshot their box. Hard to say here. Let's go back and see. So this is Sean Patterson in the number 54 Ferrari. And he goes by a spun car there. That was Sahaj Padar once again, Padar, but let's go back up to Sean Patterson. Just behind car 73, James Colborn, both brand new to the series. As Angelo goes purple, he must have just pitted maybe, I don't know. Actually, I can check that. No, he has not pitted yet, just fast there in second place. And what happens here, they both just completely, okay. I think really Sean was just slow into his box, but car 73, James Colborn there, definitely overshot his box. All right. Fair enough.
That answers that. Yeah, interesting pit lane for both of them, but as I mentioned, Scott Angelo.
There was almost problems for Mike Braun. I saw him in the negative in the speed. He overshot his box. He was a little bit slow there on the pit lane time, but does get back rolling after 8.05 seconds.
There you go, an 8-second stop as well, as we have Hodel, the number 145, coming down the pit lane. Could we see a similar pit stop to the other Ferrari, which was well in exceed of 12 seconds, and Bederka as well, 12.58.
Taking tires here.
Take tires.
That's
new.
new.
That has to be a mistake.
Yeah, that's not the strategy here with GT3 cars for just 40 minutes of racing. If you were going a little over an hour, you might go ahead and take tires, but you can run, even then, you can run 2 hours on a set of tires with GT3 cars. But like you say, might have been a mistake. We've seen it before where drivers have forgotten to uncheck tires, so very well the possibility there. Let's go back to Teague Ashburn, though. As he chases down Leon Clover. That is a lap car immediately ahead of that red Porsche, but excuse me, this top 10 is quite spread out. This is really one of the best battles we've got, and it's hard to call it a battle.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see Teague just closing in. Obviously, the lap car allowing Teague to close to Clover just ahead. And this is going to be interesting. Obviously, the Mercedes and the Porsche are not only visually very different, but also, they drive very differently as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the strengths and weaknesses of each car throughout the lap. Teague right now looks like he's losing a little bit on this section of the racetrack. The Porsche seems to be a little bit faster. And, as later on in the lap, in the straightaways, looks like he catches up a little bit. One thing that really caught my eye, Andrew, is, as you mentioned before, just before the pit stops, Angelo going quicker. That's a really interesting one. With that damaged Audi, he's closing in the gap quite quickly now, down to 1.5.
I feel like we've seen this before. I forget if it was Road Atlanta or Sebring as he just hip checks the wall there. It feels like the Audi actually gets really, really good on the late run. And Diego, of course, is an Audi himself, but something about just if you're able to master this Audi R8, it seems like it really comes alive later in a run. As Leon Clover comes into the pit lane following Will Coffey. So things changing here as well. But I like that you mentioned that, because it is good to circle back to Scott Angelo going purple, just a few moments ago. I think the Audi just gets good on old tires.
Yeah, maybe, and obviously he looks like he's just nailing the Audi as William Coffey comes down the pit lane, stops his car. You can see a Porsche just stopped right ahead of him. We're gonna take a look at his pit stop timers, 8.1, really good, really competitive. Clover though, 9.6. That could have cost him the position over Teague Ashburn.
It's definitely going to cost him a lot of time to Will Coffey, who he was chasing. So those two cars come in from third and fourth. And we'll work back onto the racetrack now. Milan Harris also in the pit lane, it looks like. There he is in the Rockefeller Racing, number 69. Scott Angelo starting to get close. Lap traffic may be an issue for Diego here.
Definitely seems to be. If not, it looks
like
Diego
he's had some clear track for a while, I think.
Yeah, so Diego might just be losing a little bit of time, which is definitely not what he wants after that strong first. And we're just going to have to wait and see. Neither of them come down in the pit lane. Rodriguez looks like he's going to continue as well. So, yeah, the top 3 remains unchanged. And I'm just going to keep an eye out to see if the rest of the top 10 comes down. Speaker looks like coming down.
Yes, Ilya Speaker, you're absolutely right there. Good eye. Car 6 comes into the pit lane. Quite an interesting day so far. Quite an interesting little race. And we're into the back end here. We're well beyond halfway. A 40-minute race. We're on a minute 26. Brent King caught very close here with Zachariah Rosar. This is a battle down to turn 9. And they are just behind Alan Dobbs. Alan has not pitted yet. Zachariah and Brent both have. So this is a battle of a couple of drivers that have and one who has not. This will sort out quite differently by the end of the race. Alan Dobbs, does he pit right here? No, he'll stay out at least one more lap as we work closer and closer to our cutoff, really. We don't usually see any drivers pit within 10 minutes to go over the race. I don't think we'll see that again today, but drivers getting awfully close. Pit lane is about to get very, very busy.
Absolutely. Pretty much the whole top 10 has not pitted apart from 3 or 4 drivers, maybe just 3, so it's really getting to the cutoff point. Diego Arias looks like he just got a little bit loose on the exit. Still not coming down, neither is Scott Angelo, so I feel like, Andrew, these two are going to come back at the exact same time, and with this clear track, I don't think there's any point in undercutting. Looks like Kruma now is coming into the pit lane. We're going to have to see the battle between him and Speaker to see who's going to come out of first.
So car 45 now in the box, or well, into the lane anyway, into pit lane. Yeah, we're certainly not going to see fuel saving, I don't think, in this amateur race. I see Mikhail Ritterbusch checking in. I don't think fuel saving is the name of the game here at Long Beach. We saw a little bit of it with the Porsche Cup cars here, but I'm just not so sure about it, especially in this amateur race. We might see it in the pro race. A few guys, I think Victor Miranda and Andre Melchers, they're very much used to that. It's a 9.2-second stop here for John Kroom. But I don't think we're going to see much of it later, or at least not in this race. I don't think we have seen much of it. I think really it's just a matter of go as long as you can. And for some of these guys, again, I think considering nose weight for some of those guys that pitted early.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely going to be thinking about how the car reacts. And yeah, it's just going to be interesting. Obviously, these two, I'm pretty sure, Andrew, they cannot risk, pitting just one lap before and risk coming back into traffic. We're going to see if Diego comes. No, so neither does Scott. So they have clear air right here. There's no point, I think, in their mind to stop and risk coming out in a traffic jam like this. Adolfo Perez, you can see, stuck behind traffic, stuck behind T. Gashburn technically. And as you can see, the Ferrari, I was going to say the Ferrari is coming into the pit lane. Rob Rodriguez, though, looks like he's coming down in the pit lane, and he already exits. No, he's still coming down to his pit box, so we're still going to see his BMW coming in. That's Angelique right behind him, isn't it, leaving the pit lane?
Yeah, and Dominic is on the way out. I do wonder if Rob Rodriguez is coming in, is racing in a BMW. I wonder if that means we'll see Bryce Rodriguez also in a BMW later on in the pro race, which is a very interesting choice. I thought at least Bryce might have gone for a different car, and he might still, but seeing at least one of the Rodriguez's in a BMW is very curious to me. As car 66 will work back onto the track, and a very quick pit stop as well, 7.86 seconds. That's the quickest we've seen, I think, since Zachariah Rosar 7 laps ago. And he joins just behind Will Coffey. So Will actually, I think, got ahead.
Yeah, I think so. I think Will is...
Yeah, I don't think Will was ahead of him before.
No, Rob was in third place, so I think Will is on the effective final podium position. He's in effective third place.
And Will had a slower stop, a slower pit lane time. That is sheerly time made up on the racetrack. So let's hope that his connection lasts. I'll give him a good knock on wood. I had to get the joke in, but I also don't want to actually jinx him, so I'll give him that knock on wood in hopes that he does actually make it to the end of this race. Teague Ashburn down the pit lane.
So now we're going to see how Teague is going to essentially filter out on the racetrack.
Ooh.
That's going to cost him a little
Yeah,
bit
Tyree Phillips was slow right in front of him.
Yeah, he's not going to be happy about that, and he's not going to be happy about the time that's going to cost him. Oh, and that's damage to his front end as well.
I think he might have already had that. We'll go back as soon as he leaves the pit lane, as soon as we see his pit time. We'll go back and check. But I think he might have already had that damage, and he works back out of the pit box. It's 8.12 seconds. Pretty quick stop as a whole. Here's David Stevenson in the pit lane. But for Teague Ashburn, I really think he had that damage previously. Let's go back and check. Yeah, he did. He actually had this damage for a while, and I do still want to see this little incident and kind of diagnose this, because there is a correct way to pit. Believe it or not, there is a correct and an incorrect way to pit. Tyree was already very slow. So the left lane is usually meant for cars traveling down the length of pit road, and a lot of iRacers, for whatever reason, tend to ignore that. And you can see, in fairness, Teague is in the pit boxes. That's why you travel down the taxi lane. It is this... These are all pit boxes at this point that he's into. You gotta stay in the taxi lane if you want to avoid that kind of stuff. And I think if Tyree had slowed down in the taxi lane, that would have been one thing. But Tyree was in the pit boxes when he slowed down, and Teague could have been further over. So that's a NASCAR thing mostly, admittedly. I know a lot of, it's not really as big of a deal in most road races, but it is something to consider if you want to avoid, especially on a narrow pit road like this. You're working literally within a street. Yeah, you want to be careful of that.
Absolutely, and you can see here, this battle is still going on. Will and Coffey, Rob Rodriguez, and Teague unfortunately came out, looks like 4 seconds behind him, so not ideal. Armando Mejaron comes down for a 9.52 second stop. Brian Long, 9.15. So we have drivers on the 8 second and the 9 second mark. Obviously, that's really going to cost him. Even a few tenths stopped is going to cost you a few extra tenths on track. And looks like on this battle right here, Andrew, William Coffey is still holding on, but those tires looks like they might not.
There are still several drivers that have not pitted by the names of Alan Dobbs, Kenneth Michael, not Will Coffey, Sonny Brown, Adolfo Perez, Scott Angelo, and, well, no longer Scott Angelo and Diego Etta. They're now onto the pit lane. I would imagine we see the rest come in as well. Adolfo Perez and Sonny Brown, they should all come in this lap as Diego comes on in. And the other thing about fuel is, you still could save fuel here. That's perfectly reasonable, but you can do it in a lot of braking zones. You don't have to actually actively save quite so hard as Adolfo goes by the pit lane, as does Sonny Brown, and it's a very quick stop for Diego, 4.79 seconds. He is getting you know what? He must have been saving in braking zones, and that must be why he backed up to Scott Angelo. Big move here by Diego Etta to just take 5 seconds of fuel. Wow, all right.
Yeah, that is a big gamble. I think it might work. Obviously, he's going to have that nailed down, Andrew. I'm pretty sure.
He's now got 5 seconds back to Scott. He can also be quite easy here in the last 7 minutes of racing. He can give up about a half second a lap and be comfortable.
Absolutely. So, yeah, there you go. So, a big gamble probably worked. Hopefully, he doesn't run out of fuel on the last few laps. I'm going to knock on wood as well because it seems to be on point. Adolfo Perez, he's the one driver, apart from Scott Brown as well. Sonny Brown, who hasn't yet come down in the pit lane. So
yeah, even Kenneth Michael and Alan Dobbs just pitted, so we should see Adolfo and Sonny in this time.
They have to pit this lap, otherwise they're absolute madmen.
Maybe not. Well, don't tell me he's trying to save enough fuel to go to the end. I feel like at this point, if you haven't pitted, you've got to be trying.
Oh, that would be a complete stretch. Obviously, it would be an insane
I know fuel is limited to force the pit stop, quote, force the pit stop. I actually don't know if there's a rule to actually force the pit stop if you have to pit or if you can go for the strategy, assuming that you do give up that time. So maybe we need a Scott Reister moment. This is incredible.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting. I don't know, official races you have to, but I don't think. Ooh, that's actually an interesting question. As Sonny Brown, he comes down in the pit lane. So technically, Andrew, Perez has a 16-second lead.
He can save a ton of fuel these last few laps. We're expecting 31. We're on lap 26, so it's 5 to go this time by.
5 laps, though, it's a stretch. Obviously, if he just stays
I don't think it'll actually be 5.
This,
I think it might be 4. We'll see.
Still, let's see, 4 seconds per lap. He can lose 4 seconds per lap.
Yeah. And if he's already been coasting and saving fuel, I mean, it's close. That's a long time to continue saving, but I don't know why you would still be on the racetrack without pitting unless you were planning on this. It feels really odd.
Yeah, now watch him dive into the pit lane. And
yep, okay. Well,
there you go.
Fair enough.
Just because we theorized about everything, made all the calculation, he comes out in the pit lane. Fair enough. Now we're going to keep an eye on his fuel number. The
3 seconds?
It could be 2? No, I don't think it would be that close, but 4 was the record. Could we see something similar?
We'll see. Adolfo into the pit lane, a little bit of left side damage. Should get that fixed up. He does. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, so it's longer than Diego. 5, 6. It's still the second quickest that I think we've seen all day. That is still very quick. That's properly in and out, and Angelo goes purple, but he is 5.6 seconds back of Diego here. Now, Adolfo is going to cycle into maybe 3rd? No, not quite 3rd. 5th? That's still a pretty big gain for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Worthwhile gamble, I guess you can say. And yeah, you can see he rejoins in 5th place quite comfortably. And with only 4 minutes to go, if he doesn't make a mistake, he's going to have an absolutely amazing result, although that was really close to the barrier.
This is the battle right behind him. Leon Clover, Teague Ashburn still nose to tail. Nothing has changed there. Sonny Brown is in 9th. John Kroom 10th. And with as long as these pit stops have taken, we've missed a lot of what's gone on in the midfield. Mike Braun is chasing Zachariah Rosar. We've not seen much of Mike today, but he is in the 14th position, so putting together a pretty good run. Zachariah is in 13th. Brent Kingcon is recovered in the 12th. Brian Long in 15th. Cody Hatch 16th. They were close together, but not quite battling just yet. A little deeper in the field, Joshua Tucker is working on Kenneth Michael. This is for 22nd, a Porsche on a Lamborghini.
This is an interesting take as well. You can see Joshua Tucker only 0.5 of a second, and the gap really fluctuates.
Problems! Diego Etta was not good on fuel.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That is absolutely, I think, a massive slap in the face. That is a huge slap in the face. One thing you've got to do is make sure you're good on the fuel you take and that you don't have to come back in. If you run out, that's one thing. You obviously were close, you were on a gamble, you were trying to make it happen, but you cannot force yourself to come back in. That is huge, and honestly, it would have been safer to take a couple of extra seconds, and he still wouldn't have lost the lead. So this is a big, almost rookie mistake here for Diego Eda, and it's going to rob him of a victory.
That's going to rob him of the top 5 as well.
Yeah, he's 12.
The top 10. Top 10, so full on terrible. And that's going to give Scott Angelo the lead. Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking for him. And obviously a mistake on his own as well. Completely misjudged the fuel, completely, I guess, placed the incorrect number on his relative box, on the fuel box. So, yeah, heartbreak for him for second week in a row. But this time, it was his own fault.
Yeah, it was just a little too good to be true, and even Mikhail Rudovish commented on it over in the YouTube chat saying, there's an eco-friendly driver. Clearly not. Diego Eda just didn't quite have enough in the tank to go the distance. 2 minutes to go, and about 10 seconds extra as we take 3 laps to go, it looks like. I still think that's going to become 2 to go. I think we're only going to 30 laps here as Scott Angelo works into turn number 1. And the Muradness number 2, 68, sporting a different kind of livery here, but still a good one. It works on through the fountain, now turn 4. And he's got 9 seconds back to Will Coffey. No concern there, although Diego Eda, problems, you're kidding me. Again?
Oh my God, what is happening?
Absolute disaster mode. I can't believe this.
I genuinely don't believe it as well. Easy coming to a stop.
And let me just check points on another monitor here. Diego comes in 3rd. This is huge. This will likely be his drop. Well, certainly it'll be his drop for now, but if this race has to count later on, if he has a worse race than this, he might just be done for the evening. I don't know. If this race has to count at some point, this pulls him out of a championship battle.
Yeah, it's definitely going to do, especially of how close the points are throughout the field. Definitely not what he needed. It's just terrible to see. As now we're looking at Mike Braun. He's trying to find out his way past Zachariah Rosa in front of him, and Andrew with only 2 laps to go. Time is running out for him.
And I think we've just taken the white flag. We can check this. Yes, white flag is displayed by Barney the Flagman, so we are only going 30 laps, not 31 here. Scott Angelo has taken the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams, and he has nearly 10 seconds back to Will Coffey. Consider this a race win unless, and we've seen it the last couple of weeks, unless he drops out of this race. Knock on wood. Let's hope it doesn't happen here for Scott. It's been a fantastic run of things, and I would have to imagine, I haven't seen Stu in the chat just yet, but I would have to imagine this has some pretty big backing from Muradness, of course, and likely has Giuliano Romagnolo aboard the pit box here. A fantastic work of things here for Scott Angelo.
Yeah, Scott, obviously he didn't qualify on pole. He didn't lead most of the race, but, you know, he's still doing it fantastic. We saw him closing the gap to Diego time and time again, and he was very close at one point. Obviously, the pit lane, we thought it was longer, but ended up being the perfect amount as he rounds off the final corner, Andrew. Well, a little bit of a burnout celebration, flashing his headlights. He definitely should be happy about his performance.
And he deserves this one. Checkered flag for Scott Angelo. Big win for Muradness. That is their 3rd now in a row in this series. Will Coffey is backing up a little bit, but he will still take 2nd place. 3rd will go to Adolfo Perez there across the line in car 92. And Rob Rodriguez comes across the line in the 4th position. Leon Clover right there with him. That was absolutely close, down to less than 2/10 there, less than a quarter of a second. But that is 3 wins in a row for Muradness. And if you think back to Sebring last week, this feels a lot like the David Hicks win last week at Sebring, where David Hicks just sat 2nd all race, pulled the right strategy, kept the car clean, and with an issue for the driver ahead, came through and collected the win.
Absolutely, and that's sometimes all you need. You need to be there. You need to have your good race as well, even if you're in 2nd place, because stuff like that can happen at any moment in time. Just like that, a small mistake down in the pit stop, made by the driver himself, just gifted Scott Angelo the win, but he had to be there. He had to have the pace to be close and obviously to stay in 2nd place. So a really good race for him as well. And through the rest of the field, Andrea, we had, 24 drivers in the lead lap. That's really impressive.
25 actually. Sean Patterson checks in on the lead lap, and as the last one to take the checkered flag, as you can see now, Barney will give that arm a rest. Let's go ahead and go through your unofficial race results, as everything is still fresh in our minds. JP, what a win for Scott Angelo.
Absolutely, really good win, and you can see on that gap, the pace was definitely there because he finishes nearly 12 seconds ahead of second place William Coffey. Adolfo Perez, after the late gamble, is going to finish in third place ahead of Rob Rodriguez. Leon Clover in fifth place ahead of Elias Speaker. Teague Ashburn in seventh place. Sony Brown in eighth. Josh Kroom in ninth place, and Armando Beharo and Andrew in 10th place.
Finishing 11th, it's Brett Kingcott in car 177. Zachariah Rosar, your fan club is nice and loud today. It is a top 12 for car 199. That's getting pretty strong and getting pretty close to a top 10 as well. Mike Braun there in 13th. Brian Long in the 14th spot. Cody Hatch the top 15 there, just ahead of Dan Willis, David Stevenson, Joshua Benjamin, and Chip Witt, and even Philip Bedurka checking in our top 20.
21st place goes the ways of Joshua Tucker, Kenneth Michael in 22nd, Alan Dobbs ahead of Milan Harris in 24th, Sean Patterson 25th, Diego Eri, the first driver to go a lap down in 26th, Chris Winstone in 27th, Dominic Angelico 28th, Brendan Lovier in 29th, and James Colborn in 30th place.
Finishing 31st, you'll find Tyree Phillips in car number 7, just ahead of Austin Hodell. Austin Hodell, brand new to the series. Good to see him at least finish this race. That's always, I think, your first goal, and now you can start to focus on positions further ahead. Clarence Rosa down there in 33rd spot. Billy Bowerman 34th. Marco Garcia, new to the series as well, 35th. Pablo Ferretti in 36th. Zahaj had a struggle of a day, 16 laps down in 37th. Eric Staropoli there in the 38th spot after exiting early. Jeff Castillo as well, a very early exit, 21 laps down in the 39th position. And Chad Nobles checked into the session today, checked into the racetrack. I believe took a couple of practice laps, but did not qualify, did not start the race, and is credited with 40th position as such. JP, race winner Scott Angelo is standing by, and I think he's a happy man.
I bet you he is. And Scott Angelo, how does it feel to be the winner of this race? I mean, I guarantee you it was a crazy race, but I want to hear from your point of view.
Give me a sec. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, cool. Wow, what a race. I can't believe it myself. Hot and sweaty, and I'm really surprised. I'm really happy, of course. But yeah, what a race. That's one tough track.
And how was your reaction seeing, the lead essentially being given to you after your pit stops?
I was really surprised. I didn't see what happened to Diego. What happened there? I was really surprised to see that he disappeared.
And how difficult was it, Long Beach? How difficult? We saw you having a little bit of contact with the wall early on in the race, and looks like your car finished entirely in one piece. How difficult was it to keep it all on the racetrack and avoid contact with those concrete barriers?
This track is insane. I think, I think anybody who's raced here, it's not one of my favorite tracks, I'm going to admit straight up. But I think, I got to say thanks to the Moradna squad, Daniel and Stu, the coaches, and all the boys that we just get out there and grind it away and try and learn from each other and stay off the walls. And, I think I did, I'm part of the NARL Fourth Cup, and I think that was a massive help, trying to negotiate something around here that is not easy to drive, and the track is not all that friendly, especially if you miss by, a couple of inches. It's pretty tough.
Absolutely. And looking towards next week, could we expect a similar result next week?
Well, and I would hope for this kind of result. I certainly will. I'll be putting in the miles, and I'll be putting in the practice for sure. And but there's so many really good drivers here, and so many really quick guys. I'm just, I gotta thank my lucky stars for being in this position.
Well, absolutely. With that being said, Scott, I hope we can talk to you next week. With that being said, best of luck, and enjoy a well-deserved rest. So that Andrew has been Scott Angelo. Sounds pretty happy as well. And hopefully we can see plenty more of the car 268.
And with Scott Angelo talk to you, that means we can talk to second place in amateur for the first time this season, Will Coffey. And this is going to be, I think, a redeeming interview to have. And we have to start with last week, Will. So close. What happened? What caused the disconnect, or do you even know yet?
Yeah, you were right. There was a hurricane that came through. It was my wife. We're building like a workout room, and she didn't realize that the router was sitting on the top shelf, and she just bumped it. So just a mistake, and no big deal.
And of course, that's one of those things that you can't even be mad about. It's just a small thing, and of course, you don't want to sleep on the couch, so that factors into things too. But all right, let's focus then on Long Beach this evening. Really good day of racing, I think. And you've mentioned already in the Discord chat, Rob Rodriguez, a gentleman, a little bit of light contact, gave it back to you. How'd your race go?
Oh, it was awesome, man. We basically going through. I thought I had the pole, and then these other guys just pulled it out, man. They're so freaking fast, man. So it's just all I knew is if I could just survive, and I would make maybe a position or two, but the guys in front of me were just solid. So as we're going through the field, we started coming up on those lap traffic, and it was really slowing down everybody else. So I figured that was like the optimal time to pit, like right now. So I dived in there super quick. Nobody followed me. I lucked out. And then when I came out, man, I had smooth sailing for probably 5 good laps. And then all of a sudden, that's when I saw Rob popping out of the pits, and I had made just enough time to get back in front of him again, and that's when the battle happened. I love racing that guy. He's a true gentleman. We've raced a bunch of times. I've made contact with him before. He's just a good dude all around. Him and his son.
Absolutely great drivers and great sportsmen as well. This is a pretty good result for you. Not the win you wanted last week at Sebring, but this is a good season-building day when you need to come back from a week like Sebring last week. How do you, I guess, apply this to Red Bull Ring next week, then, of course, to Zolder and Charlotte? Is this kind of that momentum builder that you really, really need?
Yeah, I think it kind of shows that at least I have the pace, right? I was kind of worried because the first two, well, I knew Sebring, okay, I knew there was something there, but that's also like an awesome track for me. I really like Red Bull, so I think that if I just pick the right car and just go at it and do what I've been doing, which is practicing a lot, trying to get sessions with coaches and stuff like that, I think I have a pretty solid chance. But you never know. Like, some of these guys are really, really fast.
And to the subject of the right car, actually, it almost felt like Porsche Cup again today. What car do you go for next week at Red Bull Ring?
Not the Porsche. I just don't like how the rear end kind of like unloads around some of those big like downhill like off cambers. So it'll probably be the Ferrari or maybe the BMW. That's a flat out track, man. So you need something that can really hook and just bury the tires into those like big off camber turns without any real drama.
There you go. Will Coffey going to be looking towards a bit of a different car next week. Excited to see exactly what you choose, buddy. Congratulations on a second place this evening, a big time podium finish. We'll be talking to you potentially next week at Red Bull Ring.
Hopefully, it's really good to be with you guys again. Hopefully, it's not the same amount of time again next time around. So, thanks, guys.
That's Will Coffey finishing up second place this evening, JP. A really, really good showing, I think, for car 57, certainly. Anytime you're in the top half of the field is already good, but to be in the top 2 is really, really special. And really, it was in a battle, I think, all race long. You can see Rob Rodriguez there, a few laps to go in the race, very close behind, so Will definitely had to race for it the entirety of the day. That's race number 1 of the day, JP. What do you take away from it?
Oh, and overall, I guess you can say clean race. Most of the DNFs were caused by own mistakes, not a big pile-up, and just really good racing, as you mentioned, Andrew. Really close battles throughout the field. I guess we had some pretty close finishes, and now we come to, I guess you can say, the big boys, the Pro and the Pro-Ams. It's about to get even more exciting.
That it is race number 2 on the day, coming up in just a few short moments. We do have a slightly longer kind of mid-break here, this intermission, but we won't be gone for too long. Stick around with us. If you need to, go grab a snack. I certainly would, and I just might get myself something to drink here right quick. So by all means, you guys do the same. We'll be right back here at PitStop TV in just a few moments.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Welcome back to the virtual Long Beach, the virtual streets of Southern California. One race in the books, that's the amateur race with a really, really cool new winner, Scott Angelo, atop the scoring pylon there. Now it's ready for the pros and pro-ams. Tony Kanaan, the most pro of them all, I would dare to say, certainly leading this field, but Andre Melchers, Nathan Lewis, Gustavo Ariel, and Victor Miranda, really the top drivers in the series, they're ready to get it done around Long Beach. Welcome back to PitStop TV. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, JP Costa alongside, and you can see it there, the fountain at Long Beach. So cool to make up that corner complex of turns 2 and 3. And JP, we are ready to get back racing on the streets of Southern California. Qualifying now underway. No times in just yet. Everybody out there on their first lap.
Everybody trying to warm up their tires, obviously trying to get the temperature. Nicholas Rubilar seems to be the driver who has quite got to the temperatures, the best. Obviously, highly helped by the issues that Melchers had, but still, Andrew, as we mentioned time and time again, he was there for the taking. He managed to get 2 wins in the first 2 races. Nathan Lewis sits in the comfortable 7 points behind him in second place, and Gustavo Ariel in third. Looking at the Pro-Am, as we mentioned before, Paulo, after taking his win last time out in Sebring, leads by 9 points over John Sedlick and Scott Kimbrough.
A look there at the points. Let's go down trackside now and get a look at the cars as they get their laps in here in qualifying. Here's a look at John Sedlak in an Audi, Nathan Lewis in an Audi, Gustavo Ariel in an Audi, Marcos Nunez, one of the first Lamborghinis of the field. Here's a look at Andre Melchers in an Audi. We've got Audi Cup, it looks like, here this Thursday afternoon, this Thursday evening, no matter where you're watching from. Even Hunter McDaniel, a California boy himself, in an Audi. Tony Kanaan in an Audi. Federico Godai in a McLaren. Victor Miranda out there in an Audi. Bobby Flack in an Audi. Justin Sang in an Audi. Have you gotten tired of hearing in an Audi just yet? Because Mike Galbraith is in an Audi.
Oh, interesting. Just so many Audis. That wouldn't complain this. Nathan Lewis, Andrew, in an Audi. So there we go. Everybody in an Audi. Scott Reiser currently sets the fast
in an Audi. Oh, never mind. That's Gustavo. Never mind.
And he's an Audi.
Reiser is in an Audi. There we go. He's in an Audi.
So the switching from a Porsche Cup to an Audi Cup right here. Pierre Thompson goes, it looks like, for fifth place. Crisp as well in an Audi. Nathan Lewis, that's the fastest lap. Currently in provisional pole. Bryce Rodriguez in an Audi. Oh no, it's a Lamborghini. Pretty much the same. But yeah, he currently sits half a second behind provisional pole. Federico Godai obviously in a McLaren, so a really different one. Could be an interesting challenge. And Zamperlini, Andrew, which car is that?
Oh, well, he's in an Audi. An Audi R8 there for Fabio Zamperlini. This is going to be fun the rest of the evening. Bruno Del Carmo in an Audi. Paulo Godai in an Audi. Dominic Olivier, in an Audi but not. Reed Gibson in an Audi. Juan Blanat in an Audi. We already saw Bobby Flack and Justin Sang. We've seen most of the field now, I think, as these guys get their laps in. Victor Miranda, top of the board.
Yeah, he did a fantastic lap, currently 1.5 tenths ahead of Nathan Lewis, so that's a really strong performance early on. Kind of what we expect. And Andrew, Porsche Cup, he was leading the championship, but on the, I was going to say Audi Cup for 1 minute. The GT3 Cup definitely hasn't been his cup of tea lately, as Blanat beats him by nearly 0.2 of a second.
Juan looking very quick here in this qualifying session. As you mentioned, nearly 0.2 up on Victor Miranda. And usually it's Victor Miranda that goes 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 tenths clear of the rest of the field. So for Juan Blanat to be this quick, he is definitely doing something right. Nathan Lewis also in an Audi. He's looking pretty good in third spot so far. Looks like abandoning this second lap of qualifying, but should come around. And actually, yeah, he's on an out lap, I think. So that whole towing back to the pit lane, get a new lap started, that kind of thing is certainly in effect here for Nathan Lewis. Gustavo Ariel comes back across the line, begins a new lap. And Paulo Godai. So again, it looks like these guys are towing to get nose weight back on the car and help them turn. I could be wrong, but that's my theory for now.
And obviously getting a little bit of tires as well. We saw a few drivers struggling last week, just mentioning that they needed, fresher tires, and normally the tires would only last, beyond the optimal on the first lap. Now you can see on board the number 48 of TK. He's currently 1.3 seconds off of pole. Melchers goes quickest, less than 1/10 of a second ahead of Juan Blanat, so a really good performance, but 2.5 tenths ahead of Miranda, so really good qualifying. Quickly toes back. We're gonna see if he can get a second lap in. Godai still out on the racetrack, the number 31. Whoa! That's the McLaren. Yep, unfortunately his spins, no damage, but he's gonna quickly tow back. Gustavo Ariel looks like he's finishing up his second flying lap. We're gonna have to wait and see if he improves.
Bruno Del Carmo just got a lap in. Scott Kimbrough moves up the board to 14th. But Bruno goes up to 8th here in qualifying. The top Pro-Am driver now. Oh, Paulo Godai just changed things, I think. It was Bryce Rodriguez, but now Paulo Godai actually, a few moments ago, as he's actually on the backstretch, a few moments ago, changed that, goes up to 8th in qualifying, which means Bryce Rodriguez is the next quickest in Pro-Am. Behind Bryce, you've got to go to Scott Reister, Scott Kimbrough, Justin Sang. There really are not as many Pro-Am drivers this evening as I would have thought. We're only checking in at, let's see, that would be 32 drivers. Wow.
Yeah, not a lot, especially compared to the 40 drivers we just had on the amateur races. You can see Blandea. That seems like a new name for me, Andrew. The number 117, getting really close to the barriers on the exit of turn 7. And Nicholson, another 5-star motorsport alongside Matthew Dage, number 55. Currently, he sits 1.4 seconds off of pole.
Now that you see it, now that you say his name, I don't see Matthew Dench here this evening.
Oh, so that's gonna change a few things in the championship as well.
Rounding the hairpin there for Simon Nicholson. He'll come back around and complete a lap. Bruno De Carmo just went faster than Paulo Godai to make it an all-pro top 8. And, of course, you can see the pro Fabio Zamperlini there in 10th. Nicholson up to 13th in qualifying, ahead of Martin Crisp now, who's in an Audi in car 56. And we've got just 5 cars left to take a time. It's not looking like many of them will. If anybody does, it'll be Marcos Nunez in car 23, who's been out there for a while but still doesn't have a complete lap. I would imagine has been in the wall a couple of times. Elliott White, Blaine Sparling, Brian Zinn, and Lucas Souza, the next few drivers to take a time, if they take a time. At this point, I don't think they will. No, they definitely will not.
You have just 2 minutes left. There's not enough time to go out of the pit lane and do an L lap and finish. Obviously, your flying lap. We're gonna see if Nunez did invalidate this lap, or if he'll be able to complete it and set a competitive lap time. The number 23, that is Lamborghini, coming into the final sector. You can see turn number 9, really tricky, tackling it. Looks like a bit safely, but obviously lining up for turns 10 and 11. Coming up to the hairpin, Andrew. This is the moment where you just press on the throttle, hit your gear shifts, and hopefully your time will be good enough.
Nunez down to the line. 1 minute 20 to go. He might get another lap after this. Actually, no, he won't. That was his final lap of qualifying. Does it stand? Yes, it does. A 118 puts him in the top 10 and just knocks Fabio Zamperlini out the top 10. Oh, now he's knocked out. Fabio's back in with a 117.944. That's good for 5th quick from the Duck Hawk Racing, number 37.
Yeah, really good lap from him. Just as we thought he was outside of the top 10, he quickly comes back. So bouncing back, as you can see, McDaniel, Blandea as well, coming to finish up the lap, and looks like he's just quickly darting into the pit lane. And yeah, really good lap from Fabio Zamperlini, really bouncing back on the season, Andrew, after, well, a few disappointing rounds, you could say. Really good to see him again in the top 5.
Andre Melchers, Victor Miranda still on the racetrack. They've completed their laps, but this guy, Bryce Rodriguez, has not. He might just have, oh, never mind. I don't think he will have enough time. And oddly, he's at 3 minutes 25. I wonder if he sat in the pit lane for a while and abandoned his lap times, but anyways, Bryce Rodriguez will come around and complete this lap, and it looks like not go any faster. He's 12th quick, and nobody else can advance their positions. I do see a driver out in the YouTube chat saying he's in this league but have no idea how to join. I would go ahead and go to NorthAmericanRacingLeague.com and see if there's a contact option. I actually don't know myself. If not, get in contact with Scott Reister on Facebook, or not Facebook at all, on iRacing. That's what I was going for. Get in contact with Scott Reister on iRacing and see if you can contact him, get into things here. I'm not really sure how else to direct you other than that. You might not have been invited to the league for some reason, and you can also check your league invites on iRacing, and that might help you out. We've got a field of 32, though, on the grid, JP, and leading them off, of course, it is Andre Melcher, still looking for that first win in the GT3 cars, but this evening it's going to be a pretty good opportunity to do so. Starting second, you'll find Victor Miranda in car 17. Starting third, you'll find Juan Blainat with Nathan Lewis starting from 4th position. Starting to round out your top 5, though, car number 37, right at the end of the qualifying session, Fabio Zamperlini goes up to that 5th spot. Starts to the inside now, Federico Godai, and starting 7th, it's Gustavo Ariel, with Dominic Olivier starting in that 8th position. To round out your top 10, though, it's your Pro-Am pole sitter, Paulo Godai, and Bruno De Carmo.
11th place, starting off row number 6, we're going to have Marco Nunez in the number 23, and the number 124 of Bryce Rodriguez on his outside 12th place. 13th place, starting off row number 7, we're going to have Hunter McDaniel in the number 12, and Simon Nicholson in the number 55 alongside him in 14th place. 15th place, the number 56 of Martin Crisp on the inside line, and the number 19 in 16th place of Mitchell Green on his outside. Row number 9, we're going to have Scott Reister alongside him, the number 48 of Tony Kanaan in 18th place. Row number 10, we're going to have Scott Kimbrough on the inside, and Justin Sang on 20th place on the outside.
Starting 21st is Pierre Thompson in the 218. Reed Gibson lines up in the 22nd spot. Go back to row 12, you'll find Bobby Flack and John Sedlak in cars 105 and 203. And starting 25th and 26th, it's Mike Galbraith and Blake Scott. Starting just one spot further back in row 14, you'll find Mark Scott in position 27, car 166, with Mario Blendea alongside. Elliott White will start from the 29th position. Blaine Sparling there to round out your top 30, and just 2 cars remain. They are Lucas Souza and Brian Zinn to round out the field of just 32 this evening. A bit of a downturn from weeks prior, and certainly from what we saw with the amateur race. The field rolls off now. Andre Melcher's given point. Of course, the fastest qualifier this evening, he will start this race. But as we saw in the amateur race, JP, this will be a very quick start, and the field is going to get single file very, very quickly. Barney the Flagman is going to have to be on it. In fact, we've got to be on it as well as we get ready for the green flag here for the Pro-Am race. Already single file up front and out of the final corner. They're going to line back up, or at least try to here, as they bring them down very, very slowly to the start-finish line. Green flag is out at Long Beach. Oh, and there we go. Federico Godoy, car 31, turned around, and he gets back going, but that could have been absolutely disastrous. Now gets hit there by Simon Nicholson, gets back on the racing line, and we continue on. Troubles, though, further back. More cars stacking up, getting into it, making some contact, but everybody is still rolling, aside from Lucas Souza, who started from pit lane.
Looks like he's going to have a clean start as well. You can see Andre Melcher's already with a sizable gap down to P2. A few contacts made, Andrew, but so far a clean start. You can see a few extra drivers battling on 6 and 7, but looks like they're going to have to single file through this section. We saw plenty of victims even on lap number 1, but looks like so far everybody makes it through. You can see pretty much the whole top 10, if I'm not mistaken, is driving an Audi. We're going to have to look way back to find the first non-Audi, which is the Lamborghini.
And that was in position 8, I believe, of Olivier in car 99. Here's the first side-by-side battle. Paulo Godoy and Bryce Rodriguez. This is your Pro-Am lead battling on lap number 1. Paulo Godoy has to give the spot up to car 124. Bryce Rodriguez takes that spot away.
I don't think Paulo is going to be too happy about it. He needs to think long pace. If he just sticks behind Bryce Rodriguez, able to save fuel, that could give him the position on the long term. But obviously, we're talking, Andrew, in around 30 minutes time, so it's still a patience game. But still good to see drivers being aggressive and trying to get this positions early on and doing so cleanly.
A good look here through the fountain. You see Simon Nicholson there in line. Tony Kanaan. Scott Reiser went by. Pierre Thompson. John Sedlak. The Scots go on by. A good look at everybody there. They work down now down to Shoreline Drive. West Shoreline Drive, that is. Just a line of cars. This is fantastic to look at.
Absolutely, this is beautiful. I love seeing all these cars pushing to the limit, especially the ones that are really close to one another. And yeah, you can see a bit of separation as well. And it looks like from 6, Gustavo Ariel to Bruno Carmo, and then another big gap between the numbers, well, the position 7 and position 8. As you have, looks like a few drivers struggling on the exit of 8.
Yeah, Hunter McDaniel was slow out of turn 8, lost a spot there to Mitchell Green, and now up the inside goes Martin Crisp, and Tony Kanaan looking for a spot on Hunter McDaniel. Tony Kanaan very aggressive there in turn 9, follows Mitchell Green through, and Martin Crisp. Now they're working on, contact!
Oh!
Mitchell Green gets turned around, Tony Kanaan, front row seat to it all, more cars stack up, Scott Reiser, Justin Sang, and more in the hairpin.
Yeah, that's the danger of, well, Long
One
Beach.
gets turned around, it's Mike Galbraith. Oh, we've got a parking lot.
Yeah, this is the most
Emerson
expensive
asked us
parking
if
lot.
we would have an incident worthy of a full course yellow, and this might be it. 7 cars, it looks like, stopped in the hairpin alone. Oh my goodness, their race, all of them are out of this.
Yeah, they're definitely out. They're really going to be on the back foot right here. Luckily, nearly all of them come out with not a lot of damage, which is really important. You can see Blake Scott, unfortunately, quickly diving into the pits, Andrew, so this has to be for damage, right?
Car 167 is in. And yeah, gets that fast spare, heads back out there, so he continues on. Up front, though, Andre Melcher's a second clear of Victor Miranda, Juan Buena in third, Nathan Lewis fourth, Fabio Zampolini completes your top 5, but he has got Gustavo Ariel very close behind, and Bruno De Carmo right behind him.
Yeah, it's a really cool battle. You can see 2 full-time esports chasing. This is essentially a Brazilian train, isn't it, Andrew?
Yes.
Zamperlini from IDL from Carmo. So really is to see who is, well, currently second position in the Brazil Cup as well in this series. It's going to be really interesting to see the two full-time esports drivers chasing down Fabio Zamperlini. You can see Ariel getting really close, looking already down to the inside of turn 1. I don't think Zamperlini will fight him too hard and might just yield that position. You can see on the ticker, Gustavo Ariel moves up to 5th place, and yeah, that's exactly what happened. Looks like Zamperlini may have clipped the wall a little bit, and I think he did, and so that could hurt him a little bit on the long run.
Fabio drops down into 6th. Bruno De Parma now working on him and bringing Dominic Olivier into this battle as well. So this battle evolving. And I think it's clear that Gustavo Ariel was being held up just a little bit. And Bruno potentially as well. I think Fabio's just a little bit off pace. Not by much, but just enough to be an inconvenience.
Yeah, it might just be so. They really need to essentially get past as quickly as possible, because if Bruno wastes too much time, he's definitely going to be under a lot of pressure from Olivier just behind. So at this time, you know, Fabio, obviously, he's just going to try to hold off for as long as he possibly can. And Bruno, he needs to get past him one way or the other. So probably looking to repeat what his teammate did on the previous lap, getting a good run out of the hairpin right here and probably lining up down into turn number 1. You can see taking a wider line. That's going to help him on exit.
Bruno De Carmo slung the tail out there, loses some time as a result as Andre Melchers goes purple, and Pierre Thompson, oh, he's just had an issue, a big issue here in turn 9, loses some spots. Scott Reister goes on by, and the left side of that wing is completely collapsed, JP. That is huge, especially at a downforce track like this. You've got to have your air devices working as properly as possible, so to have that kind of damage is really quite killer there for Pierre Thompson. Let's get a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to hurt him not only on the corners, but also in the straight line speed. And I wonder if this is going to happen down into turn number 9. I do think it will be in the left side. Oh, yeah, that's the Audi, Andrew. Sometimes
in that case, he really needs that rear wing.
Yeah, it's just lift off oversteer. You know, he's going to lift off the throttle. He's going to brake a little bit in the back end. Well, just gone. Something that happens to the Audi. It can be fast, but it can also be very, very tricky to drive. So unfortunately for him, big damage, and I'm surprised, Andrew, he didn't pit, so might just be waiting for that fuel window to open to make sure he doesn't waste another 30-40 seconds down in the pit lane.
And of course, he might not know the extent of the damage there to the rear wing, so he might be left to his own devices. It's rare that road racers have a spotter with them, so he very well may not know about that rear wing damage. And of course, it's really not as big of a deal as it sounds like. It's still generating downforce, and you know, if you saw a real wing doing that, obviously that would be a major concern. But the way iRacing works, sometimes it isn't as big of an effect as you might think. It's still generating some kind of downforce, just not as much. And as long as he paces himself, I think he'll be okay. He's still pretty close behind Scott Reister. He's not all that far behind, about a second or so. And he's still in the order here, just a little further back.
Yeah, absolutely. If he keeps himself in this position just around a second and a half behind the car ahead, he will benefit from the slipstream, but we're just gonna have to wait and see how that pans out. As we look here to the only 5-star motorsport driver, Andrew, which is not Matthew Dage tonight. Looks like so far his race has been quite calm. I haven't seen him turning too many headlights, but you know, definitely, you know, just keep on going slowly. He's just battling for P10 on the moment, if I'm not mistaken, chasing down Paulo Goddard.
That he is. Paulo Goddard just ahead of him in that 10th spot, second place in ProAM. So Simon has brought Marcos Nunez to this battle and, of course, wants to stay ahead of Marcos. What I do want to talk about, though, while we're looking at a couple of Pro-Am drivers, is the fact that Bryce Rodriguez dominated Road Atlanta in class, was absolutely nowhere to be found last week at Sebring, and is suddenly right back at it, but gave up those points at Sebring, and that's going to be tough to come back from, especially when Paulo Goddard is holding him so honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Paulo is doing what he needs to do for the championship, keeping himself within contention for the win. Obviously, Bryce really needs to fight back in the championship, really needs results like this again, Andrew, you know, time and time again to make sure he reels in those points that he lost last week. So he's doing what he needs to do. Paulo is doing what he needs to do. So it's really going to be an interesting championship battle.
Catching those points is actually not as bad off as I thought. Let's see if I can, well, hang on. I have the wrong graphic loaded up in the broadcast doc, but we'll change that. And it is still really big time worth mentioning. Bryce Rodriguez needs to get back on the high horse, if you will. The high horse isn't quite what I'm going for, but get back on the saddle. That's what I'm going.
Absolutely, and he's doing that right now. You know, he's in he got the lead over Paolo. He wasn't that on qualifying. I mean, he was there. He was in second place on his class, but you know, he wasn't fast enough for pole. But he seems to have the great pace that he needs, you know, to beat Paolo at least this early. And obviously, Paolo right now, Andrew, he's going to be suffering. He's going to be dropping due to the pressure he's feeling from Nicholson behind him. So, yeah, everything is lining up for Bryce, but unfortunately for him, we're at Long Beach, so nothing is guaranteed.
Still on board here with Bryce Rodriguez. Still has a nice little gap back to Paulo Goddard. It's been a nice on-board lap with him. Now let's just go ahead and bring this up, actually, since I'm having whatever issue on my end. Let's bring the standings back up and take a look at it. And you can see after 2 races, Paulo Goddard is well ahead. Bryce Rodriguez in 13th. So, yeah, as I thought, this is a problem for Bryce that he's got to get in order, I think. He's certainly capable of winning a championship, if not just in Pro-Am, then certainly can battle for one in Pro like he did last season. So he has got to be on top of this. He cannot sit by, like at Sebring last week, where he just wasn't on top of it, and let Paulo Goddard take wins like that without being second place at the very least. So Bryce Rodriguez really needs this run tonight. It's only going to be marginal in terms of the points he makes back, but it at least will count for something.
Absolutely. I think the word we're kind of looking for is he needs to be consistently at the top.
Consistency, yeah.
It's just, you know, you don't need to win races. You just need to finish consistently in the top 3, top 5 to make sure you're always grabbing those points home. And obviously, you know, avoiding incidents, allowing drivers to get past you whenever you need to avoid, I guess you can say, silly battles, you know, risky battles. But yeah, it's just going to be a matter of, you know, a race-long battle with himself and obviously the other drivers to see if he's going to be able to win the championship. Currently, as you just saw, you know, Zamperlini was still holding off Bruno Carmo, and Paulo Goddard is still holding off strongly Nicholson behind him, which is a really impressive drive as well for both of them.
And there's another good battle behind him. Mitchell Green, Hunter McDaniel, there's a couple of guys that made contact earlier with Martin Crisp and Tony Kanaan in tow. They've gotten back single file. They're running nice and orderly, a little over 10 minutes in. In fact, just shy of 11 minutes in. And these are all Audis in this line of, what, 6 cars or so, all the way back to Reed Gibson. Reed Gibson in the 18th position. He's got 4 seconds back to Justin Sang, and he is saving fuel. I know I was talking right there, but if you guys listened, you would have heard it. Let's go ahead and listen on board with maybe Mark Scott. Pierre Thompson might, well, he's not doing it. Mark Scott might do it. Let's watch. Watch the RPMs. He's not putting the clutch in. Is John Sedlak putting the clutch in? This will show us as well. Nope, no clutch. Brian Zinn maybe. No clutch. Mike Galbraith, nope. Elliott White, not quite. But we'll have to watch on board then with Reed Gibson when he comes back around, maybe even into turn 9. That might be enough of a braking zone for him to put the clutch in. This is really interesting to me that drivers are doing this in a place like Long Beach of all places.
Yeah, absolutely. Every single drop of fuel, Andrew, will matter. Let's check it down.
Short shifted there.
Nice.
Let's listen. Clutch in, you can see the RPMs drop.
Yeah, I saw the RPMs dropping below 2,000. So yeah, he's just saving a little bit of fuel. Obviously, pulling in the clutch to make sure the car doesn't slow down with the engine. You know, make sure it coasts as long as possible. So yeah, just trying to extract as much fuel as possible. Trying to make sure his pit stop is going to be as short as possible to make sure he gains a few positions. So Reed, he's already looking in the long run. He's already looking for maybe 20 minutes down the road. You know, to make sure his
watch on the dash here. Ahead of the steering wheel. Watch that number that's just spinning around crazy. All the way down to 1,100 RPMs. That's impressive. Yeah, you see the lights just drop all of a sudden, yeah.
So yeah, Reed just saving a little bit of fuel, saving a lot of fuel actually, and that's really gonna benefit him if he can keep with this group. Obviously, if not a single mistake happens to him, he's looking very good.
Let's reset our race leader. Andre Melcher is well out ahead of the field by a little over 2 seconds over Victor Miranda. And Victor really, he's not been as apparent in this championship just yet this season, but he's definitely strong. He's definitely good, and he's here to win races, or at least get close to it. Battling here with one Blanat. And, well, actually, not battling with him. That car behind is actually Blake Scott, who's gone 1 lap down after his pit stop. Juan is much further back. Nathan Lewis actually just lost that spot. I think Nathan was 3rd a lap ago.
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, those two are stuck in, looks like a small, interesting battle, but yeah, Andrew, Victor, not anywhere near as apparent as he was on the Porsche Cup. Road Atlanta started off quite strong. He was in the top 5, but then a few mistakes saw him drop all the way down, and then Sebring was more of the same. He was at the top at the start of the race, but then a mistake on his own. I think it was on his own, where he got involved in a contact, and then unfortunately again another bad result. So 2 weeks in a row, bad luck for him. But so far it's been looking good. 2 seconds behind Andre, but still in a good second place. These two though, they're not going anywhere. They're still battling quite a lot, and you can see how much Bruno Carmo is pushing.
Bruno is on it right now. He is hustling. He knows that he's just watched his teammate Gustavo Ariel drive away by 5 or more seconds. In fact, it's up to about 6 seconds almost. Martin Crisp, though, in trouble. Where is he? This looks like turn 6. Yes, turn 6. Martin Crisp has turned around. He was just in front of Tony Kanaan. I wonder if there's anything in common there. No, this is going to be a solo incident, but watch this for Martin Crisp. He's already got a lot of front-end damage on this Audi. See all that damage he must have gotten into somebody, and you know what? It might have been from that chain reaction in turn 11 earlier. But watch this, just goes around. Oh, Tony barely gets by. I think he got him a little bit, but could have been a lot worse. Let's watch Tony Kanaan's on board of this one. Just see how close this one came. Whew. Well, Tony Kanaan continues on without issue. You head back up towards the top 5. Nathan Lewis is definitely putting some pressure here, at least trying to put pressure back on Juan Blanat. And I think we might have lost JP Costa. JP, are you there?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I was drinking a bit of water.
Oh, fair enough. Well, you know what? Hydration is key. But I want to know what you make of this. With Nathan Lewis sitting in this 4th spot now, he seemed like he's been the 3rd best all season. I didn't think the 4th best. Juan has turned something up today. He's definitely there.
Yeah, Juan is looking very, very strong tonight. I'm really impressed by the performance that he's been putting in. Obviously, Andrew, it could be down to the track. Obviously, we know drivers are going to have favorite tracks, but I really do hope this is the performance we're going to see by the driver of the number 89 for the rest of the season, because this has been, I guess we can say, nothing short of excellent. Obviously, we'd like to compare, drivers to the likes of Melchers and Miranda, but that was close for, I think it was Nathan just ahead of him, or either him, but, these drivers are putting such an amazing laps, and it's really good to see them, close together. You can see the top, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th really close, and I'm really happy about it.
A pass made there. Paulo Gradai loses the spot to Marcos Nunez. Simon Nicholson recently worked on by car 193. This is changing the Pro-Am battle because Bryce Rodriguez is still well up the road, and Paulo Gudai is starting to slip as this run goes on. So maybe the Lamborghini a little more well-suited to the long run. But back to Juan Blanat. I'm excited to see if he's able to hang on to this kind of a run next week at Red Bull Ring, and certainly beyond at places like Zolder and Charlotte and such. Problems for Scott Kimbrough, though.
Oh, no.
Car 177 in trouble. He was just on the racetrack. This is very, very recent. He was chasing Tony Kanaan, actually. He was steadily just behind those guys, and here's the issue. Whatever happens, it's going to happen in turn 5, it looks like.
We're just going to have to wait and see. By the camera movement we saw just before the replay, Andrew, I'm assuming he's not in the race. Oh, he just drops?
And with all of that happening at the same time, we've just had a pass. Fabio Zamperlini has just given up a spot. In fact, he's given up 2 spots. Drama here.
Yes, there you go. Fabio dropping those 2 spots he was holding for so long. Unfortunately for him.
Here's the pass being made.
Also, he's down into turn 9. Looks like it was set up all the way by Bruno. Is he going to hold it around the outside of turn 10? Yes, he does. He's going to have the inside for the hairpin. Fabio's going to have a bit compromise, a bit of contact. Oh, and that's going to be even more damage to his car.
And this would be why he is now in the pit lane.
Oh, there you go.
If we come back live, you'll see him exiting here in just one moment. He's now starting to slowly roll away from his box. Disaster here for Fabio Zamperlini. Once we're back, here we go. Let's check in on the time. 13.07 seconds in the box. This is disastrous to Fabio's race. He was doing so well. And, man, it's tough to say who's at fault in that incident. We'll leave that one to the stewards and the drivers themselves.
And this is interesting, Andrew. I wonder, obviously, Fabio's going to try to stretch his fuel as far as he can.
He's going to be able to go from here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Obviously, he's going to lose a little bit of time, just by driving a heavier car. But if he finishes, I guess, inside the top 10, that'll still be a good result.
We'll see what he can do now. Mired back in 25th. But hey, you know what? Mired back in this race is a lot different than mired back in the amateur race. You can be mired back in the mid-20s as opposed to the mid-30s or even 40th spot. So a big difference here as he gets back into the groove of things. He's ahead of Blake Scott and Lucas Souza. He's on the lead lap at least. Scott Kimbrough, Scott Reister, Blaine Sparling, Bobby Flack, and Federico Godai are out of this race. And that makes up the back end of our 32-car field. Simon Nicholson now starting to work on Pro-Am race leader, Bryce Rodriguez. This is for 8th on the racetrack. And, oh, Mark Scott with trouble. Out of the hairpin as well.
Oh, no. And that's... Oh, that was close on the reverse. Did he pass the pit lane entry?
He's going to keep going.
He's going to keep going. But the front end of that Porsche, you can see, is very, very damaged. So, unfortunately for him, he's going to have to nurse the car at least one more lap to come down to the pit lane.
See the issue here for Mark Scott on board car 166 now as we come to a replay. Turn 9, he's definitely turning a lot there, losing a lot of front grip with the curbing on the inside, those rumple curbs. Want to stay off those. That starts to really affect your inside tire and kill your grip. And out of turn 11, just had a lot of wheel in it, got back into power, and yeah, that's really easy to do actually here at Long Beach especially. Actually glad we had that on board because you could see just how much wheel he still had in the car. That's exactly why the car whipped around on him on power there. Brian Zinn and John Sedlak just had a pretty good battle. They are now, let's see, battling for 19th and 20th. Sedlak in the 19th spot. Here he comes around turn 9. Brian Zinn, Elliott White just behind. Elliott White, a pro. We haven't seen much of that Audi, though. He has been very much, I think, trying to chase and trying to see what he can get here in car 11.
And Andrew, something I just noticed from the BMW ahead, isn't that the Pinky Pig livery that the Porsche? Yeah, I absolutely love it. That's one of my favorite liveries of all time that the Porsche ran. So it's really good to see it on a BMW, and obviously now this battle is just going to become a whole lot, I guess a whole lot better. I just love that livery. It looks so good. But yeah, this is an interesting battle. A BMW in the midst of an Audi sandwich. This is interesting to see. Obviously, two completely different cars. You can even see just how big the BMW is, and obviously the handling of that car is going to be completely different. The power distribution is going to be a bit different as well. So, a really interesting, I guess, battle of different cars, such distinct cars.
Elliott White, another one of those California boys in the field, position 21 currently. And oh, Brian Zinn pounds the wall there on Apex, goes wide in 6. This might present an opportunity for Elliott White on the backstretch. Down East Seaside Way, can he do anything about it? Oh, he gets loose there, and that's his run gone. Gotta be so careful getting back to the power here.
Absolutely. Obviously, seeing the car ahead of him making a small mistake and probably carrying damage got him a bit too excited, and unfortunately that caused a mistake. But he just needs to persevere. As we look on this battle for 7th place, looks like Olivier chasing down Bruno De Carmo just ahead. Another interesting battle, Andrew. Obviously, two extremely similar cars. They share the same platform, pretty much the same cars, I guess you can say. But you had two different drivers, two different cars, two different manufacturers from two different countries. It should be interesting.
And something I want to mention, actually, is the logo aboard the roof of this number 99 car of Dominic Olivier. And we'll check it out on Elliott White's machine in one more moment, because I thought I recognized it, and I do recognize it. PRL, and that is a league covered on GSRC, and it's interesting to see this kind of crossover. So North American Racing League starting to come up in the world and really pick up some. Obviously, we have Tony Kanaan in the field, so I think takes precedence over Dominic Olivier and Elliott White. But to see more of this crossover from other leagues that at least I'm aware of, and others might be as well, that's pretty cool to see. That crossover from some bigger name leagues that are on some other pretty high up broadcasters like Cold Racing Channel. Highlight or shout out to those guys, but I also noticed it on Elliott White's machine. You can see it a little more largely there on his car, on the roof there, on the nose as well. Didn't think I would see that league logo in a race like this, but hey, there you go.
Yeah, really good to see that logo. Obviously, a high-quality league with high-quality drivers in it.
I also see that GSRC logo there on the front fenders. I wouldn't mind changing that one to be a PitStop TV logo, just saying.
Maybe one on each fender. How does that sound?
There you go. As Mike Galbraith with a really twisted up Audi comes into the pit lane. Moradness on board that machine. Moradness, of course, one of our series partners here with the North American Racing League, now in both series. Mike Galbraith comes in, gets service, and will head back out there. And this will serve as his fuel stop as we near halfway. This is actually okay timing. If you're going to have a problem like this, have it with 25 minutes to go.
Yes, have it with an opportunity to fuel up your car to the end of the race. Have it when the pit window is open. As we have this battle right here. Is this Gustavo Ariel coming up?
That's on Nathan Lewis.
Yeah, there you go. So this battle definitely hasn't died down.
Gustavo's quick.
So, yeah, Gustavo's quick. So Nathan lost the position, didn't he, to 1?
Yeah, we saw that some time ago, and this is just... I think the highlight of this battle to me is really Gustavo having caught up from several seconds back and has driven away from his teammate of Bruno DeCarmo by 9 seconds. Gustavo Ariel has got a really good car underneath him today, right to the back end there of Nathan Lewis. This number 15 Audi for full-time esports is really, really good today. Really cool seeing this kind of speed on the car 15. While these guys do some battle and Gustavo clips the wall there at the apex of turn 8, a big shout out to our partners here at the North American Racing League, RaceLab.app, Maradness, Cam Livery, and JS Consulting doing so much for us week in, week out, allowing this league to happen, allowing all of the prizes to go out. I think it's like $50 or $100 per win for these drivers, and that's huge to have weekly. That's usually, you know, a special event purse for a lot of leagues, a lot of series, but to have that weekly is really, really big for this league. And, I mean, yes, there's monetary support, but it goes beyond that. So to have RaceLab, JS Consulting, Cam Livery, Maradness all on board. Of course, RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Cam Liveries offers custom packages for some of the best livery designs in iRacing, used by pros and amateurs and pro-ams in this field alike. You will definitely look good on the racetrack. Just look at Scott Kimbrough. And JS Consulting provides custom website and app development, including iRacing League, website design, and hosting. Find JS Consulting at johnsedlike.com. And of course, Daniel Morad, where you get the name Maradness, is a pro racer that has put together a really solid, really competent team of coaches and pro drivers. And if you need to get up to speed on iRacing and you have the setup thing figured out, it's Maradness where you need to go for that driver coach.
Absolutely, Moranis does such a good job, and we see that reflecting on this league. Time and time again, Andrew, we always see drivers, happy with the coaching that they got and the performance boost that they got. So it's really good to see, Moranis helping him out. Obviously, with the real life experience that he has as well behind some GT3 cars. Currently, I think he's driving for Mercedes, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, and he's, just driving a GT3 car and having, GT3 experience in general is really going to help him, as we're on board here with Nicholson really closing the gap down to Rodriguez. Obviously, Rodriguez leading that Pro-Am pack so far in 8th place. Paulo dropped all the way down to 10. You can see Hunter McDaniel chasing down Green just ahead of him. So really a lot of battles happening at the same time right here.
And I think what helps Maradness, and I want to go back to this for just a moment, what helps Maradness the most is not only the fact that he's got real life experience and connections and everything else, but the fact that he was able to get in and get some guys like Giuliano Romagnolo and so on and so forth, all of his coaches. Real life experience only does so much for you, right? When it comes to iRacing, and just like iRacing only does so much for you when you go and get in a real car, there are differences in between. There's certain sensations, certain feelings that just don't go back and forth. And for Daniel Morad to already be so good at driving a race car and be so good on the sim, and to bring in guys that are very familiar with the sim, the nuances thereof, that really helps that team, and that's why Maradness succeeds so often and so strongly. That's why you got to go get in there. Again, with Maradness, there's a lot of guys who coach that are just sim guys, and they might be good at it, but Maradness is better.
Maradness excellent. As you can see, Pierre Thompson right here. It looks like he already fueled up a little bit. 15-second stop, Andrew. I think that looks a little bit high from what we should expect from the top drivers, but either way, he comes out of the pit lane right now, disengages, comes back to racing speed. We're just going to have to wait and see how he filters after the whole round of pit stops, as we still have this battle emerging
just
right
changed.
here.
Gustavo Ariel just passed Nathan Lewis in turn 1.
For some reason, I was thinking this was Bruno DeCarmo still defending, but yeah, Gustavo really got past. Andrew, I'm thinking Nathan is extremely fuel saving.
Let's find out.
I think so. Right here, I don't think, but let's hear out of turn number 8 into turn number 9, because we saw how aggressive Gustavo was, closing up to Nathan. So I think he's saving. Otherwise, he's really lacking pace on this mid part of the stint.
Let's listen and watch on board. Watch the RPMs on the dash. No clutch. And really, that didn't feel like that was lifting all too early. I don't think Nathan's too aggressive right now. But being that, you know, they can tune the setups, they can also be in different fuel maps. It doesn't have to be lifting and coasting and even putting the clutch in. It can be a matter of the fuel map, as here comes Tony Kanaan to the pit lane. He was already a little ways down the order, and now he comes out of the pits, will rejoin the field in the 21st position. Not quite the day he wanted. In fact, there is race leader Andre Melchers. So Tony Kanaan, 1 lap down at Long Beach for now.
Yeah, for now, unfortunately, he's going to find him a lap down, which is not what we want to see from the number 48. But Andrew, so far, after his luck on the first few rounds with us, it's good to see him at least on the racetrack. But 13.2 seconds, that's his pit stop. Crisp looks like he just spun around. Almost another Audi spun around in front of him. So unfortunately, it looks like, I would like to say a casualty, but it looks like a DNF we might see.
Yeah, so a big problem here for Martin Crisp, and it looks like Blake Scott is back into the pit lane, so problems there for Blake as well. Actually, no, he gets back going. But here is Martin Crisp with his issue. Just gets on the power, a lot like Mark Scott earlier. Then this happens. Whatever happened here with Blake Scott, hasn't he already been on the pit lane, so he comes back in?
Penalty, maybe?
Good question. We'll come back to live picture. In fact, let's pick up with our race leader, Andre Melchers. Just completed another lap. And he has got 2.7 seconds back to Victor Miranda, Juan Blanat in third, Gustavo Ariel fourth, Nathan Lewis in the fifth position. And Dominic Olivier, we saw this a little while ago, JP. You mentioned that you thought it was Bruno DeCarmo still defending over Dominic Olivier. This is for 6th and 7th. They stayed just about a half second apart.
Really interested to see how this one hasn't changed, so we're just going to have to wait and see. Andrew, is he saving, right? Dominic is saving a little bit?
I believe so, yeah. I think I just heard a downturn in the motor. We'll see We'll see, of course, in turn 9. If he's putting the clutch in, we'll see it at 9.
Yeah, we're going to see 9 again, so Dominic definitely might be biding his time as well. Andrew, pit stops are approaching, less than 20 minutes to go, so still, you know, just
with
biding
as late
his
as the
time.
amateur field went, do these guys go inside 10 minutes again?
I could see some extreme fuel saving, and I should expect to see actually the next 3 or 4 laps, I think tops, we might see a few drivers diving in.
The top 17, well, I was going to say the top 17 have not pitted yet, but as I say that, Elliott White comes in from position 17. He'll drop to 18th and a little further back. Tony Kanaan is pitted. He's in 21st. Pierre Thompson in 22nd is pitted, but let's go back up to Dominic Olivier. Turn 9, well, we weren't on board for it, but we didn't see the RPMs drop, so he's not putting the clutch in. Oh, Juan Blanat, the leaders are all pitting this lap. Juan is in car 89 rather. Let's bring up the pit timer. Andre Melchers is in. Victor Miranda is in. Nathan Lewis comes in. 4 of the 5 leaders all come in at the same time. Here comes Dominic Olivier. So it's the full-time esports cars going further once again. Here's Andre Melchers in the pit lane. He should get away first. It's a pit time of 13.65. Miranda, 13.83. Here comes one of the Scots to get out onto the pit lane. And hopefully they let Victor go on by. Juan Blanat, let's see, his time, 13.65.
Yeah, so pretty much similar. I think that's the exact same time that
Very close.
got.
Yeah.
Exact same time, yeah. So there you go. So pretty much identical fuel saving. Obviously, it's a bit more impressive on my head, as looks like Nathan Lewis just got a bit longer one, Olivier. So pretty much everybody on the 13.6, Andrew, which is really interesting. So not too crazy numbers. We might see those from a few drivers back here. Oh, there you go. Just as I mentioned that, McDaniel, 11.5, 2 seconds quicker.
Sang a little bit slower at a 13.8. John Sedlak is now into his box. And here comes Mario Blendea in car 117. So now, well, here comes Gustavo Ariel out of the race lead. He had just assumed the race lead. He'll bring in teammate Bruno DeCarmo. Will he? Yes. Simon Nicholson, Marcos Nunez, Paulo Gaday would be the next 3 to come in. Here comes Simon Nicholson. Does he pit? Yes, he does. Does Marcos Nunez? No, Marcos Nunez goes on by. Paulo Gaday, does he pit? Yes, he does. Mitchell Ian Green, does he pit in and out? Oh boy, one car turning left, and oh, that was scary. Mitchell comes on in. Reed Gibson, the final car, does he come in? Yes. So one car stays out one more lap, and that is Marcos Nunez in a Lamborghini.
Crazy to see Nunez still out on the racetrack. Is that going to be a a gamble for him. As you can see, Melchus exiting, well, leading the pack right here effectively on P1 because Nunez still yet to pit. Miranda looks like he rejoins around 3-4 seconds back, so the same gap that we saw before. I think it didn't really differ. Blaine had Ariel, then Lewis, Como. So Lewis wasn't saving injury, and he's currently 7 seconds behind Ariel.
Yeah, he really dropped way back in the pit lane time. There's a difference of maybe a second. Gustavo, I think, just had a really good entry potentially. The pit lane time does not start at the actual turn in. I wish it did, but it actually starts and ends at the cones. So I would imagine those times are, well, the times are different. The time is gained and lost. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. The time was lost right here coming into the pit lane, and or on exit where you have to maybe let a car go by. That could absolutely hold you up for a second there. So you know what we could do is we could actually go back and watch here what happened to Nathan Lewis potentially. So this will be, oh, well, here it is. He had a spin in turn 10 coming towards pit lane. Let's go back and watch this for Nathan Lewis. This is exactly the issue. You can see Gustavo Ariel just ahead of him. This is the issue for Nathan. Gets sideways there. The Audis went around.
Yeah, just mid-corner, probably lift off oversteer once again, just barely clips the concrete barrier. Definitely not going to carry any damage, I don't think so. Yeah, that's going to explain the 7-second gap. Unfortunately for him, yeah, that's probably going to put him out of the contention for that battle unless he really puts in some really quick laps around here.
There aren't many battles left. Marcos Nunez comes back onto the racetrack in 9th spot. Just about a second ahead of Bryce Rodriguez and about 2 seconds behind Simon Nicholson. And that gap to Rodriguez is actually closing. Here we go. And you see Fabio Zamperlini just behind as well. Fabio's in contention for a top 10.
It would be really interesting to see if he could get, obviously he needs to pass Bryce Rodriguez just in front of him, but I certainly do think that is possible. He unfortunately started in 5th place, as you can see there, Andrew, and unfortunately it has been a bit of a downhill race for him, especially after his little bit of damage that he caught up on the first 2 laps. But you know, this is the time to bounce back. He has a brand new car essentially, and yeah, just time to put laps down and try to force Rodriguez into a mistake.
As high as 5th, as low as 24th. And he started in that 5th spot, and he's made about half of it back up, and like over half of it looks like, into the 11th position. Really good comeback out of Fabio. It certainly would be as well if he can get a top 10. That would be, I think, exactly what he needs after a start like this, and just not his own doing at all, unfortunately, but sorted way back in the field. Really tough to come back from when you're 24th or so at Long Beach to get back towards the top 10 like this, but he's got a chance. Mike Galbraith is working on Brian Zinn. This is for position 21.
So we're 21st place. This battle is the same battle we were watching before the pit stop, so it's really interesting to see it's still going. Is this Elliott White on the pit lane?
Yes, Elliott White's just had a problem. It looks like in turn number 8. It was just ahead of Galbraith and Zinn. Let's get a look at it here. Watch car 11. Does he hit the wall potentially at apex? And oh, he just comes around on his own. The Audis are having some downforce troubles, it looks like. Very, very loose in high-speed corners.
Yeah, that's the nature of the Audi. Sometimes you just bites you. That's the thing that I always struggled when I was driving. So it's kind of comforting on my point of view to see the pro drivers even struggling. Andrew, obviously, they're not going to be too happy about it. But yeah, it's just to show that it happens. But this battle right here is certainly a good one. And this is a really good battle. Seeing an Audi chasing a BMW, such different cars, but yes, so close on the racetrack. It's good seeing that.
Oh, I think they've got a lead lap car just behind them. Who is that, actually? It's flashing them. That is... Hang on. That is Andre Melchers. That is your race leader just behind these guys. Flashing them, but he's got to understand they are in a battle, and he's got 3 seconds. He's got to be respectful of their battle on the racetrack. I get it. The leader wants by. The leader should have right of way. There's a blue flag for a reason, but you can't split up battles for position just for the leader. The leader doesn't own the racetrack entirely, so these guys have got to be nice to him, and I think we'll see that on the straightaway, yes. And Andre should have just stayed left the entire time. I get he's going for the draft, but I think that was a pretty clear move to let him go. So, That was, my brain just stopped. That was Galbraith letting him go by. Zinn is next ahead, and Zinn ideally would let him go out of the hairpin here. We'll see what happens. We're on board with Andre Melcher's race leader. He's got 2 seconds back to second place, and yeah, it looks like Brian, oh, maybe not. Brian's still there. I don't think he might go to him into 1.
Yeah, I think he will probably stay on the race line. Might save a little bit of fuel. And yeah, there you go, lifting it a little bit. Obviously, that cost Melcher's a little bit of a gap to Miranda. Not enough.
Maybe.
Yeah, because Miranda is just going to have to catch these two up again. So, yeah, it's going to be negligible. And yeah, he didn't even catch up to the lap drivers yet. So, yeah, not going to change a lot. But, yeah, good to see the battle is still very much alive. And we're just going to have to wait and see how the number... Wait, excuse me. We're going to have to wait and see how the number 17 is going to manage these 2 cars ahead of him.
Go back on board with Galbraith in position 21, battling now for 20th spot. This is actually, I think, the closest gap on the racetrack. The next closest would be Zamperlini on Rodriguez, and that's still much larger by, well, it's starting to actually even out. 6/10 for Zamperlini to Rodriguez. Let's go ahead and go on board with Zamperlini then. 10 minutes to go, and this is your battle to get into the top 10. What really is worth noting here is if Zamperlini passes Rodriguez, that puts Rodriguez only 1 spot ahead of Gaudet with no cushion. So if Apollo is able to make up that time, he wouldn't have to go through Zamperlini to get to the Pro-Am race win. If Zamperlini stays behind him, Apollo still has to go through Fabio to get to Bryce.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an interesting scenario to see how this will develop. I don't think Apollo I don't think he has enough time, Andrew. 9 minutes and 50 to go to catch up, essentially 6 seconds and pass 2 cars. It's definitely going to be a mountain of a challenge, but, well, we're just going to have to wait and see if it's going to be possible. Some things can still happen to Bryce, as well as it can happen to Fabio, as well as it can happen to Paulo, so still plenty of racing.
It's good to see that we have one of these races on a track like this where it could be chaotic, but everything's been calm. We've only seen that one massive pileup in the hairpin. It seems like things have been very orderly in regards to everything else. There's drama, certainly, but I don't think there's any more drama than there would be at any other racetrack. This is good to see, actually, for a place like Long Beach. I think the North American Racing League has found a really, really good GT3 field here where they're ready to go. And that goes for both races as well. The amateur race is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. The amateur field and the Pro-Am field, they're absolutely amazing. It's great to see, familiar faces as we've seen from previous NARL seasons, and obviously with some new faces as well as big names in the sim racing, especially on iRacing. So really happy about it, really happy to be a part of it as well, and I just hope this racing continues. As you can see, Brian Zinn, Andrew, he might fall under pressure right here.
This is a battle for 20th on the racetrack, just ahead of Victor Miranda. Let's go on board with Victor. Watching this side-by-side battle, he's going, oh no, I want to get by you guys. Galbraith gets the spot. Zinn is going to fight back down to the fountain. Zinn has to fall back in behind Galbraith. And Victor's just saying, come on, guys, I want to go. But again, this is where I go back to the fact that they have a right to battle. And Victor's nowhere near, and actually I say that, Juan Blanat is just behind him. I think now these guys do have to consider getting the heck out of the way, especially now that Galbraith has made the move. Galbraith has caught him, and Galbraith caught and passes in for a reason. He's faster right now. So now I think Brian Zinn and Mike Galbraith have to consider the fact that they've got 2 leaders right behind and get out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see Victor Miranda looking down the inside. That's going to cost him, almost cost them to, damage to the car. Zinn probably not going to be too happy about it. He's probably going to yield the position for the time being, but, he just needed to get the buffer. You can see Zinn doesn't really make it difficult for Juan, which is really good to see as well. And you can see now Gustavo Ariel as well, Andrew, is part of the conversation. He definitely wants to make it through because he really caught up on this last sector between all of these guys. So now Brian Zinn, look at the gap he already developed. So obviously he lost quite a bit of time, but that's the leaders. You just sometimes have to make them through, have to leave them through. And remember, Mike is also going to have to let all 3 cars through.
He's now got a 1.5 seconds back to Brian Zinn, so he can afford to do so without too much issue here. But when does he do it? He's still holding them behind him. I would have let them go there into turn 1. At this point, you've already backed Victor Miranda way off of Andre Melcher's. Andre now has a Sunday drive. He can almost give him a second to lap, or a second a minute rather. And Juan Blanat is all over second place. So these guys have created this battle, albeit in their own battle. They had right to keep battling. The unfortunate thing is now they're starting to hold Victor up even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Victor obviously might not be too concerned about the battle up front. He definitely wants to hold off for second place. And with 6 minutes and 30 to go, he needs, this
Gotta
gap.
let him by here. Gotta let him by.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason to hold him off on the straight line. You can
He
see,
moved over.
yeah,
He moved to the right side for Andre. You've got to give the same respect here to second place, especially once you've backed him up to third.
yeah, absolutely. And he's gonna battle. He's gonna make a little. It looks like Juan's life a little bit more difficult, but didn't hurt him too much. So the battle for second place on the pro class is definitely alive, and he's gonna have to move out of the way of Gustavo Ariel as well. So Gustavo still within the podium battle, and this is just gonna be an amazing drag race to the finish. But yeah, Gustavo needs to get past him right now, otherwise he's gonna lose too much time in the infield section.
And Gustavo rather, is he gonna have a chance here?
Oh, he's gonna move on.
Mike gets out of the way, and see, we'll let that one be. Everybody can draw their own conclusions. I don't want to get too negative right now, but this is a pretty good battle that we've now got with Victor Miranda and Juan Blanat for second place, and throw in Gustavo Ariel for fourth. And I'm also noticing a battle further back with Marcos Nunez on Simon Nicholson. This is for 8th and 9th. Nunez wants the spot. And Fabio Zampolini still has not passed Bryce Rodriguez for 10th.
No, still couldn't find his way through, but this one is... Yeah, this is a good battle for 8th place. We're just going to have to wait and see I guess Brent Carbon is going to come out on top of this battle. Is it going to be the Audi or the Lamborghini? Is it going to be Marco Nunez or is it going to be Nicholson ahead of him? Still, Andrew, very, very close. 0.3 of a second. It's just amazing to watch.
With lap cars ahead. I see one of the Scots up there. I see someone else. I can't quite make out who that is. It might be Kimbrough. Yeah, lap traffic going to play into this one, and again, this is for 8th position. If the leaders get tight again, we'll go back to it, but it looks like Victor Miranda's got the pace to hold over Juan Blanat and Gustavo Ariel. Those guys have not gotten close yet. They go by one of the Scots. Oh, and you see Nicholson make a big mistake there. Nunez closing in.
See, Nunez could close it in quite a lot, but that gap still around 0.3 of a second. It looks like Nicholson got a good enough exit on the front straightaway to hold that position for the time being. So unless Nunez goes for a dive bomb, I see Nicholson holding this position at least for the time being. So number 55 soaking in all the pressure, but these cars up in front, they can really change up the game.
Now there is this one car just ahead of these guys. This is Scott Kimbrough, in fact, and the next car ahead would be Dominic Olivier. So this lap car of Kimbrough is going to play into things, but how much does Kimbrough play into things here? Out of turn 5. Scott Kimbrough, I think, give it to him right here. Yeah, get over to the left side. Let them keep on going. Good move.
Yeah, there's no point in battling too much. You can see it's a battle for position. They're extremely close. You're not battling with anyone, so good on him. And, well, we haven't been robbed of this battle.
And the important thing about that for lap drivers, as I've said before, hold your line, be predictable. The important thing is to do it on a straightaway. Get off the racing line and let go if you're going to do that on a straightaway. Don't get offline in a corner. That's when things get unpredictable. That's when drivers don't know what to do, because if they're trying to pass you in a corner, they're going offline to do it. So you've just got to be predictable. And in that case, on a straightaway, that's the acceptable time if you want to pull over and let somebody by, as opposed to just doing it out of the blue. So that was the right thing from Scott Kimbrough. We've seen it a couple of times already. Good racing there, good heads-up sportsmanship there from Scott Kimbrough. A little further back, Galbraith is actually catching John Sedlak. This is for 19th. Galbraith is on a move, and he was good last week, I do believe. So Mike has got something going for him. I think he put it in top 5 in Pro-Am. So Mike Galbraith has got a good piece underneath him, but is trying to use the full extent of it as Fabio Zampolini closes in on Bryce Rodriguez. This is for 10th. Paulo Gadai is 3 seconds back. And our top, well, not our top 3, but 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are still equidistant. 2.5 to go.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes to go. I guess 2.5 laps to go maybe as well, isn't it, Andrew? So
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so time is running out. Gustavo needs to get past Juan if he wants a shot at the podium. Well, if he wants to be in the overall podium. And obviously, Blanat needs to pass Victor if he wants to be in 2nd place. So all
There's
drivers are
Andre.
really close. And you can see the gap, 5.9 seconds, 6 seconds. And now we're going to see all 3 drivers going at pretty much the same distance between one another.
So 2 to go, more than likely. In fact, that's definitely 2 laps to go. So we will go to 38 laps in this race. We expected 39 initially, but the pit stops have brought us down just slow enough to be a 38-lap race instead. There's still a lot of laps for 50 minutes at Long Beach. Really, really solid pace these guys have turned. Just fantastic racing. I really got to give a tip of the cap to every single driver that showed up today. Fantastic stuff. This North American Racing League, they've got things figured out. And this is genuinely one of the best leagues on the iRacing.com service, if not the best for road racing like this. It's just fantastic. Marcos Nunez, once again, for position number 8 on Simon Nicholson. Marcos is there.
Marcos is very close. It's just going to be a matter of capitalizing on any sort of opportunity he gets. Unfortunately, on this part of the racetrack, it's extremely difficult to go for a move around, well, the inside or the outside, but you can see just how close he is, Andrew. And at this point, it has to be frustrating being that close, but yet so far away to risk a move. But we could see something on the exit. Oh, unfortunately, he dips. Looks like the whole car is essentially on the concrete barrier, and Andre Melchers, well, that's not no sign of slowing down whatsoever. Wow.
White flag is out, presented by Whiplash Sim Cams, and as we get that white flag, Melchers goes purple. Just saw Nathan Lewis go on by. Gustavo Ariel is close. This is going to be interesting this last lap. This is the final opportunity, by the way, through each of these corners for Gustavo to make this pass for third. I just don't know if he can set Juan up in time. He is so close yet so far.
Yeah, that's going to hurt. He's going to try it until the last possible moment, so don't rule him out just yet, but don't think it might be enough, Andrew. So I think they might hold position, but there's still plenty of concrete barriers to catch them out.
Gustavo just lost some time in 6th. That might be it. I don't think he's got enough to go catch him at this point. Oh, and he clips the wall there in 8, but keeps on going. It wasn't enough to really slow him down. So up front, Andre Melchers now through turn number 9. This is it. He is finally going to be able to claim a race win. Arguably should have 3 in a row now in the North American Racing League GT3 Series. He is oh so good, and he has finally, wait for it, just in case, finally has got a win in the North American Racing League GT3 Series. Victor Miranda will come across 6 seconds later for 2nd. It's Juan Blaine out in 3rd. Gustavo Ariel there in the 4th spot. Nathan Lewis claims 5th. Bruno De Carmo in 6th. And a few more of these guys racing to the line. Marcos Nunez, can he do anything in the final couple of the corners? No. He is too far back here of Simon Nicholson. The top 10 will hold as Bryce Rodriguez eked out a 2nd gap back to Fabio Zamperlini. Fabio then denied a top 10 opportunity.
Fabio just going to finish outside the top 10. Still a good race for him, I'd say, Andrew. Just barely holding off. Looks like Paulo Goddard lost the position just on the final few laps, so he's going to finish in 13th place, looks like.
Oh, maybe not. Paulo, oh, he gets Hunter McDaniel at the line.
He runs out of fuel.
No, I don't think he ran out. I think he might have had a slowdown or something. He might have, actually, it might have been fuel. You might be right. It's sputtering now. A few more cars coming to the line. Here's Pierre Thompson. This is for position. Mitchell Ian Green. This is still a battle to the start-finish line in this race for 17th. But Pierre can't quite get the power down. We've got to go back now and get that replay of Hunter McDaniel to the line. Hunter also may have made a mistake and gotten into Paulo because Paulo was not behind Hunter at first. So I really do wonder how that even happened in the first place. Let's go back and check it out before we take our post-race break and get our drivers here for interview. What in the heck just happened here with Paulo Goddard and Mitchell Ian Green? Oh, I see what's going on now. Just ahead. Actually, let's just watch it from Hunter McDaniel's perspective. You'll see what goes on here. One of the Scott cars has a problem.
Oh, Paulo slows down.
Both of the Scott cars.
Oh, no. And Paulo obviously gets hit from behind. A bit of a car part on the final corner, on the final lap of the race as well. And you can see the Audi is just running out of fuel, isn't it? Yeah, you can see.
I don't know. We'll go back on the onboard and check it out in a second. But first, we got to see what happened to the Scots to set this all up. And then we'll see if that's sportsmanship or fuel there for Hunter McDaniel. What goes on here? That was both of the Scots side by side. Let's get another look at it here. So this is Blake Scott. Yes, Blake Scott following Mark Scott. And these guys were for position. Mark and Blake were battling here at the end for position. So a father-son battle. Mark ends up getting the advantage here, but how so? Blake has to give him the spot there in a 9. Blake around the outside. Mark has the spot. Oh, and Blake hits Mark. So son spins father and then gives it back. You can see everything else happening with Paulo Goddard and Hunter McDaniel here. They stack up on exit. Blake gets into Hunter. And then let's see the onboard. What happens here?
So engages the the pit limiter, but you can see I think the car is going to start sputtering. Does it? No, I think it just slows down a little bit. Yeah, I think it's fair play.
Yeah, so he was giving that back. That is easily, you know what, Fabio Zampolini had a moment like this at the back end of last season, JP, but I think this is even more so of a sportsmanship move. Nothing says that he has to give this spot back. Nothing at all says that he can't take this position away from Paulo Gaday, but he recognizes that he was not going to get him on merit. Well, I say merit. He wasn't going to get him without this issue. He wasn't going to get him without this calamity, and gives the spot back up. I've never seen anything like this on iRacing. That is absolutely incredible, remarkable there from Hunter McDaniel to give that back up.
Absolutely. It's just amazing to see. What is also going to be amazing, Andrew, I think it's going to be the Scott's dinner. I think it's going to be an interesting talk between father and son.
Yeah, you know, we'll let them figure that part out. It was Lucas Souza also in that in car 106, that gray Audi. But wow, I am absolutely stunned as to what just happened there in the final couple of corners. Long Beach certainly giving us some excitement here at the back end of the day. Let's go ahead and bring in then our couple of race winners and second place drivers. First up, we'll bring in the race winner on the day, Andre Melchers. We'll bring in car 25. And Andre, you know, you had a couple of disconnects. Arguably should have 2 wins, but does this make up for any of it at all?
Yeah, hello. I have to laugh a bit because I'm really lucky this time. Finally a win here, an official win. The Ritter lasted, luckily. Yeah, I'm kind of happy. The pace was really good. Had a few issues with some LED cars, but besides that, it was a really good race.
And it seemed like it was almost Audi R8 Cup out there. Describe the car choice. I think you've been in the Audi the last 2 weeks anyways, but going for this Audi this evening and, well, seemingly being up against a sea of them, what was that like?
Yeah, I tested yesterday some cars. I tested a BMW, and after the BMW I hopped into the Audi to test that a bit. And I was like immediately 3 times faster, and I said like, yeah, this will be the car for today, and yeah.
And what is this car like? Obviously, it's mid-engine, well, rear-engined, and it is obviously very tricky, very twitchy. We've seen that. Is there a difference between having extra nose weight with fuel? Like, what is all of that like? Describe the car itself to us and why you guys opt for it.
I can just compare the car to the Beamer, basically. You feel a lot of more rotation here in the Audi. That's maybe the reason why you're faster here, because you have a lot of corners, a lot of hard corners, tight corners, and yeah, that's maybe the reason why the Audi works really good here.
There you go, Andre Melchers finally gets that race win. Do you feel like you're gonna get another one next week at Red Bull Ring? It seems like you've absolutely dominated here in the GT3 series.
I mean, I hope so. I hope so.
All right, Andre, well, thanks so much for your time, buddy. Congratulations on finally holding connection throughout 50 minutes of racing. And I can't wait to talk to you next week at Red Bull Ring.
Thank you.
Andre Melchers finally gets that win, JP, and that puts him just ahead of Victor Miranda, second place in Pro this evening, but a really, really good win for him. Really good run, rather.
Absolutely. And Victor, segundo lugar, parece que a sorte está começando a virar no GT3. Conta como é que foi tua corrida.
Boa noite, João. Uma corrida muito difícil. Uma pista que necessita aqui de uma concentração o tempo inteiro, né? Não pode errar um pouquinho, que o muro está bem próximo. Tínhamos um pace muito bom. Acredito que no meio da corrida a gente tinha o melhor pace da corrida. Eu tive 2 erros ali no começo e nesse nível de corrida que não pode acontecer, né? O nível de pilotos aqui está altíssimo. Tive 2 erros que fizeram com que o Melchers abrisse um pouquinho. O primeiro deles foi um erro básico de freada, e o outro, sem querer, entrou o pit limiter ali no hairpin. E aí, puta, suficiente para ele abrir ali 3 segundos. Depois eu vim tirando, tirei 1 segundo e alguma coisa durante a corrida. Mas já não era possível chegar mais. No final, parecia ficar tranquilo ali em segundo lugar. Mas uma surpresa ali com uma briga ali dos retardatários. Me fizeram tirar o pé, perdi alguns segundos ali, o Juan chegou e ficou o que tava fácil ficou mais difícil. Mas uma corrida muito, muito legal, me diverti bastante.
Com certeza. E agora pensando para a semana que vem, como é que você chega preparado para Red Bull Ring? Obviamente eu acredito que tá todo mundo esperando muito fuel saving, então naquela pista talvez qualificar um segundo lugar não seja a pior das hipóteses?
Não, acredito que não. Na verdade, quem estiver puxando a fila é que vai sofrer bastante. Além disso, acho que tem que lembrar que é uma pista que é extremamente difícil não ter incidentes, né? Não ter off-track. Em qualquer lugar ali você toma off-track. Então, além de você administrar o combustível, você também vai precisar administrar os incidentes junto com as batalhas e afins. Já digo que não é uma pista que eu me identifico muito bem, mas vamos tentar, vamos dar tudo que a gente tem para conseguir mais um pódio.
Com certeza. Bom, Vitor, com tudo isso dito, cara, foi ótimo falar contigo. Meus parabéns pelo resultado. Espero falar contigo na terça-feira que vem e na quinta-feira também.
Maravilha, obrigado, João. Queria só agradecer por último aqui os brasileiros que participaram da corrida. É sempre bom ver mais brasileiros, o Gustavo Ariel, o Bruno aparecerem. São bons, ótimos pilotos. Agradecer aqui o Fábio, o Paulo Godoy, parabenizar ele também pelos treinos e pela corrida. E agradecer a equipe, Energy Sim Sport e meus pais que estão assistindo.
Com certeza. Meus parabéns para você, um abraço para todos os brasileiros que estão assistindo e até a próxima, Victor.
Obrigado.
Alright, so Andrew, pretty good interview as usual. Pleasure talking to Victor. So yeah, a few points. Obviously, he knows that the track is very hard. You need a lot of focus. That's something we know, and we can actually visually see it. He believed that in the middle of the race he had the best car, but unfortunately towards the beginning of the race, in the first few laps, he unfortunately made two mistakes that allowed Andre to essentially drive away from that slipstream range, and then it became really difficult to catch up. He said, I think he just got the car a little bit, sideways a little bit, ended up costing a little bit, and engaging the pit limiter throughout the race ended up costing him obviously a few seconds, but he caught up around a second before the pit stop, so he thought he had the best car, so it was going to be an interesting race. Towards the end of the race, it was all business as usual. He was kind of running his own race, and he said, he thought it was going to be an easy end, but then that back marker battle we ended up watching really made what was a difficult job even more difficult, and then obviously allowed the drivers behind him to really catch up like one, and made the race very, very interesting. Talking about Red Bull Ring next week, he said, it's going to be an interesting track. The leader obviously is going to be suffering a lot by, just punching the air and not being able to save fuel. But obviously, off tracks, which if you finish a clean race around here with 0 off tracks, you get some extra points. It's going to be really difficult for any driver to finish that with 0 instant points. So that's going to be interesting. And he mentioned it's not a great race for him. So he's definitely going to put a little bit more practice to make sure he continues with a good run of results.
We've heard from Victor Miranda. We've heard from the top two in Pro. Let's go on down to Pro-Am then and pick up race winner Bryce Rodriguez with a really, 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 really big day. And Bryce, we saw the domination at Road Atlanta, and then we saw the lack thereof at Sebring. What happened at Sebring last week, and how did you bounce back from that today?
Oh, at Sebring, pace wasn't decent. I thought it was pretty well, but I thought the pace could have been better, and I was running P2. And then just went to the pits, and a rookie mistake, just caught speeding by just a little bit, and then, drive-through penalty to maybe like 5 miles over. And then, it's 40-second penalty, so that kind of ruined the whole race there. And it's pretty much felt pretty gutted about that because I put in a lot of time for that, and then just, one little mistake like that cost me, and that was on me, obviously. And then going into Long Beach, I love street circuits, and it felt really good to get back into the Lamborghini. It's one of my favorite cars and the first GT3 car that I got, so I was feeling pretty pumped about it, and just did a lot of laps during the week. Really just enjoyed every lap of this race, and I know Paulo was really quick in qualifying. He was quicker by a tenth of a second, but around here that's a lot of time, and I think at the start was pretty clean, and I was pretty close to him. And then I had an opportunity, I think on the first lap maybe, when everyone was like bunched up. I think I passed him in turn 9 around the outside, and then went into the hairpin, and then I came out in front. And then from there, it was just maintaining the tires, because I tend to brake late and I tend to overdrive the car just a little bit in races, so kind of had to watch that with the tires towards the end of the race. But overall, a really fun race.
I love how hearing you give your interview is just like listening to one of your YouTube videos. Let's talk about then defending over Fabio Zampolini. I don't know if you know this, but he was Season 1 champion in Pro, and he definitely was bearing down on you for some time. What was it like holding your composure over him?
Yeah, when I saw him, well, first off, I saw him go into the pits quite early in the race. I'm not sure what happened. I heard some contact from around the other side of the wall, so I was like, okay, what happened? I saw him go into the pits, and then towards the end of the race, he was behind me. So really, it's just about just not really paying attention too much to the cars behind, unless, you know, I kind of see him make a move. So it was just about keeping the pace. I know he's a really clean driver, really fast driver. I have a lot of respect for him, as many other people do in the league. So I wasn't too worried, and he was kind of that buffer between me and the P2 guy. So it was good at the same time, but if he was quicker, I wasn't really going to fight it too much. So in the end, it all worked out.
So a season of 8 races, you get to count 7 of them for your results, only 1 drop week. Are you trying to make Sebring that drop? Are you trying to stay up there, the top 2 or 3 maybe, try and get as much as you can out of these next 5 races?
Absolutely. If I can drop Sebring, that would be great. Hopefully I won't be making any rookie mistakes like that in the future. So fingers crossed with that.
That's Bryce Rodriguez, a big win here in Pro-Am. JP certainly going to turn his season around. Congratulations, Bryce. We'll be talking to you next time out at Red Bull Ring.
Thank you.
A big night for Bryce Rodriguez, and really big for, you know, defending over Fabio Zampolini for so long, and of course just eking out this win over Paulo Godai, who is so good right now. Just I really think at the top of his game, at least for what we've seen of him so far. This is the best we've seen Paulo Godai, and for him to not win today is pretty big. Bryce Rodriguez was on it, but let's bring in position number 2 here in class, Paulo Godai.
Então, Paulo, não foi o primeiro lugar que eu acho que estava esperando, mas um segundo lugar em Long Beach tem que ser um resultado que a gente pode comemorar.
Ah, com certeza, com certeza. Realmente eu queria ter feito o primeiro lugar aqui, mas não deixo de estar feliz de forma nenhuma, porque é uma pista que você já entra preocupado, né? A chance de dar algum problema durante a corrida, né? Seja com retardatário, seja sozinho, seja de qualquer forma, então dá um certo medo. Então terminar a corrida e terminar bem colocado já é muito bom, né? Então eu tô bem feliz com o segundo colocado, independente. O Bryce andou demais, né? Tava com um pace muito bom, né? Tá bem competitivo, é uma pessoa que vai... É um piloto que vai andar lado a lado comigo aí o campeonato todo, acredito, né? E vai ser uma ótima disputa. Mas eu acho que agradecer o pessoal do Brasil aí de novo, né? A gente tá sempre trazendo BR aqui no pódio. Hoje já é um dia iluminado para mim, eu já consegui um pódio numa Liga Brasileira antes dessa corrida, então estou bem feliz pelas 2 corridas que eu fiz hoje, as 2 com bons resultados. Então é isso, agora é descansar e focar para as próximas semanas, tanto na Porsche, tanto aqui na GT3 de novo, para a gente continuar nessa cadência boa de resultados.
Com certeza, os resultados bons estão realmente vindo. Antes de eu deixar você descansar, porque já é quase 00:30 aqui, realmente, o que a gente pode esperar de Red Bull Ring semana que vem? Uma boa performance, um segundo lugar, ou a gente pode esperar um primeirinho ali para terminar, começar a alinhar esse campeonato melhor?
Na verdade hoje eu somei bons pontos, então eu continuo, acho que em primeiro no campeonato, né? Então eu preciso focar, além de ganhar as corridas, pontuar bem, né? Obviamente eu vou atrás de conseguir sim o primeiro colocado em Red Bull, é uma pista que eu gosto mais, tenho mais afinidade, a gente vai passar um pouco menos de medo, né, em relação a Long Beach, mas obviamente eu vou buscar o primeiro, mas o mais importante eu acho que é pontuar bem, não deixar de pontuar, na verdade, e aí eu acho que a chance de vir bons pontos pro campeonato é o que é importante. Então, a gente vai buscar o que der, mas com a cabeça de pontuar, que eu acho que é o mais importante.
Com certeza. Bom, com isso dito, Paulo, acho que, bom, por hoje tá tranquilo, já escutou minha voz 2 vezes durante a semana, já deve estar de saco cheio, mas espero falar contigo por mais 2 vezes semana que vem. Um bom descanso e até semana que vem.
Semana que vem, bom descanso para todo mundo. Muito obrigado pela oportunidade.
Igualmente. So, Andrew, I guess you can kind of tell, very tired, but kind of excited, Paulo Godoy. Obviously, he was very happy. He mentioned, how tricky it is coming to Long Beach, how intimidating this track is. Obviously, any sort of mistake, let it be your own fault or a back marker's fault, all this sort of stuff, it can really, hurt your race. So it's a really difficult race to prepare and obviously to approach. He said congratulations to Bryce. He said the pace of Bryce's car was absolutely amazing. Obviously, Brian's performance as well. Bryce's performance was very good, and he said he's excited for the championship to see what else Bryce could bring up to the table. He still thinks he's leading the championship, so he mentioned that from here on out is just keep on scoring points. You don't need to win, you just need to be consistently scoring points, and that's exactly what he's aiming for at Red Bull Ring next week. He just doesn't want a DNF. As long as he's scoring good points, he's going to be happy about it.
Good to talk with Paulo, as well as, of course, our race winners and Victor Miranda this evening. Let's go ahead and get down to race results. We still haven't checked them out, JP, and winning this evening, as we've talked about many a time already. Andre Melchers over Victor Miranda. Andre finally gets on through a total of 50 minutes and wins this race. I really do believe he should have had the last two. I think we saw that. He might have had to go down in a battle last week. We don't know exactly, but really should have had two race wins already. Finally gets one this evening at Long Beach. Victor Miranda there in second, Juan Blaine at third. What a podium we had. Gustavo Ariel there in fourth place, Nathan Lewis in fifth, on down through Bruno De Carmo, Dominic Olivier, Simon Nicholson, Marcos Nunez, and amazingly, we nearly had a pro top 10. Bryce Rodriguez just hangs in there for a top 10 ahead of Fabio Zamperlini.
The craziest fact is we're having so many good series, we kind of get impressed by an overall pro top 10 entry, which kind of should be the norm. But Fabio Zamperlini is going to finish in 11th place, Paulo Godoy in 12th place, Hunter McDaniel 13th ahead of Reed Gibson, Tony Kanaan is going to finish in 15th place, Justin Sang just behind him, Mitchell Ian Green is going to finish in 17th, Pierre Thompson 18th place, Andrew, he's the last driver to finish on the lead lap, John Sadlek and Mike Graboff is both going to finish one lap down in 19th and 20th respectively.
Finishing 21st, it's Brian Zinn in car 173. Blendea finishes 22nd. Then it's Mark Scott and Blake Scott in all of that calamity in the final couple of corners that involved a couple of other drivers. Thankfully, it didn't impact their positions. Lucas Souza finishes just behind them by a lap, though, in 25th. It's Scott Kimbrough 26th, Elliott White 27th. And this is where we get down to the DNFs. 12 laps down for Elliott White, 18 for Martin Crisp, and Scott Reiser and Blaine Sparling out of the race very early there, 29th and 30th, before you get down to Bobby Flack and Federico Godoy do not finish this race. In fact, Federico only made it looks like 2 laps before he had to call this race quits, and that is it. 32 cars, and only 20 of them finished. Let's see, 26 of them finished. So definitely had a few casualties in this one, but again, to go back to it, really a good day of racing. Very few big issues. There were a few small ones here and there, but nothing too crazy. Just a really good day of racing, JP. What do you take away from it?
Absolutely. As you just mentioned, not having those big incidents, I guess you can kind of remind ourselves of the Porsche Cup incident that we had on the main straightaway. So, having a good calm start definitely helped, a lot of these drivers to finish the race. Obviously, some drivers had the bad luck to DNFing a few laps early in the race, but, it was just a great battle. We weren't short of battles throughout the race, which is really good, seeing drivers, battling for the top 10, top 5, top 2. It was really fun. And Long Beach, once again, with its difficult layout, difficult track, it was still tons of fun. And I'm pretty sure each driver that finished, or each driver that even attempted to race here, felt pretty happy. And obviously next week, Andrew, we're going to Red Bull Ring, a completely different circuit, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a welcome change.
Yeah, next up we have Austria. Red Bull Ring is it's known. It's going to be a lot of fun next week, April 7th. It is going to be a big change up for these GT3 cars, back to a high-speed flowing circuit, away from these low-speed corners we had tonight at Long Beach. So back to a very, very fast circuit. Zolder's kind of in between. It's definitely high pace, but a little bit more low speed in certain corners, certainly the couple of chicanes that it presents. Zolder is going to be a lot of fun, and I believe, I'll have to check, I think it's on the alternate layout, which is going to be really weird. That back chicane is Boy, that's going to be something. We'll get to that when we get there, but that's going to be exciting on April the 14th. Charlotte Motor Speedway, April 21st. Virginia International Raceway that a lot of people are already hyped for. I saw some chat out there in the general chat in Discord, and I saw Zachariah Rosar talking about it and a few others. I'm excited for VIR to finally make it onto one of these league schedules that we've got on PitStop TV. And of course, I know you're happy about Interlagos, and I'm sure a large portion of this field is as well.
Absolutely. How can you not love Interlagos, especially being the last race of the season? It's going to be a fantastic schedule, Andrew. Luckily for us, we're only 3 rounds in. We still have 5 rounds left. So 5 weeks of fantastic racing still yet to come, and I cannot wait.
A lot of great racing left here in the North American Racing League in both schedules, and a lot of great racing left here at PitStop TV as a whole. We are done for this week. We won't be back on air until Tuesday evening, but you can kind of see what we get from there. It's Tuesday afternoon with the British sim racers at Knockhill Racing Circuit. That's next up on the reverse course as well. That's 8 p.m. UK. That is 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And yeah, that's Mazda Miatas, in case you're wondering. Mazda Miatas on the Knockhill reverse course. They've done Knockhill last season, but now we're going backwards, doing everything in a different order. That's going to be really weird. And look at that. Road Atlanta checks in for the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Series. That is the next track that NARL is at with the Porsche Cup guys now for race number 7 of their season. We're getting ready to crown a champion over there in the Porsches. And then Wednesday, it is the Outlaws Sim Series with the Chicagoland Speedway next up at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. On Thursday next week, you'll also find BSRTC again at Knockhill Reverse, and us right back here with the North American Racing League GT3 cars at Red Bull Ring at Austria, like we just talked about. And JP, a whole lot of great places to follow along, including checking out some updates from this evening, posted by our very own Emerson Arden.
Absolutely. The updates, the live race updates. You can follow us obviously on Facebook.com/PitStopTV, Twitter.com/PitStopTV_, Instagram.com/Pit_Stop_TV, and obviously, Andrew, our live coverage to hear our beautiful voices live on YouTube and Twitch at youtube.com/PitStopTV1.
With one more race out of the way, we're starting to get to the midseason. In fact, we are officially in the midseason here for the GT3 cars with the North American Racing League. A big shout out to all the partners here with the series. Of course, Race Lab, Mirandus, Tam Livery, and JS Consulting, all doing so much for this league week in, week out. And VRS over on the Porsche Cup series, just doing so much and allowing this league to happen and at such a high regard and quality as well. For all of us here at PitStop TV, thanks so much for tuning in. I had JP Costa helping me out today on the mics, and you know what? We're still doing our double here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Emerson Arden over on social media doing a fantastic job as per usual. It's been a whole lot of fun, but that will do it from Long Beach. As much as we love talking to you, as much as we love you guys hearing our voices talk about race cars for hours on end, this will do it. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time, hopefully Tuesday afternoon with BSR at Knockhill.
cry. Wanna cry.